different than usual. I moved it back a little bit, but yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm drinking coffee. I have 2 beers here that I should get into in a moment.
Yeah, fair enough. I've only got the one.
Oh, okay.
This is all I have left.
The hell am I doing?
Hold on a second.
I don't want to edit stuff, and I'm just like, oh, this takes forever.
Okay. I've been playing Morrowind. And,
have you consulted a guide yet to figure out what the fuck to do?
Only for like very specific, like I'm like extremely annoyed by one thing or another.
Okay, how long?
Sort of
how long did it take you to find the puzzle box?
That one didn't take me long because I remember it from like my previous attempts to.
I'm gonna tell you something. When I played Morrowind years ago, when I was a young lad, about the same age you would be, about the same time when I played it. Yeah, I completely got lost. Never found the puzzle box on my first playthrough, and instead ended up killing Vivek because that was an easier option. just an FYI, like I was like, well, I can't figure out where the puzzle box is. Better go on just on a kill spree and just poke my head into everything. And and then you got the message of like the rabbles of fate have unwind. You have to reload a previous save, and I killed some random like dockkeeper. Yeah. I was like, what?
That's legit. Like I said, like most of this has been perfectly fine. There've been a couple I feel like gotchas where I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm over encumbered forever now. Because sometimes like a disease hits you or something. Like But I've been doing pretty okay.
Like Morrowind is
I did have to restart.
Yeah, no one gets anywhere in their first playthrough because they're like, oh, I'm just completely fucked because I don't know how the game works.
You choose the wrong skills.
Yep.
It's like just not as good. Like I re-rolled into an archer kind of guy.
Oh,
and it's been so much fucking easier.
By the way, do you have an auto clicker?
I don't know what that is.
Wait, you don't know what an auto clicker is?
I do. I've never heard that term.
Oh, okay. It's a program you can download for free on the internet. You just type in auto clicker, and you set it up so that it'll just continuously click your mouse for you. That's what it does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you're ever gonna level magic, just go get one of those. You'll need it.
Noted. Noted.
Because you can just kind of like sit in a corner and cast spells and then go to sleep and just rinse and repeat that for the next 9 hours.
I honestly see like a fair amount of replay value in this game if it weren't for the fact that is that a fucking what the fuck? If it weren't for the fact that like it's old as shit and there's plenty of other games to play.
Oh yeah. I'm just moving my mic around for everyone to deal with. I'm not gonna edit that.
I've heard of this guy, but I just found the one living fucking dwarf guy.
Oh, you're over in that guy's tower with his clone wives.
Yeah.
It's clones of himself he made female, and he's married to them, and he fucks them. What a
It's disturbing.
Yeah, that's his whole stick with his like 7 wives. They're all just female versions of himself, and like you could talk to them, they're like, yeah, he fucks us.
Jesus.
Yeah, remember, like Morrowind is when Elder Scrolls like went off the rails super hard and was just like, let's just throw shit at the wall. Like the monster design guy who made all the creatures, he would design the monster he wanted to design, but he figured out that Todd Howard would always not accept his first version. So he would make an even worse thing and submit that as number 1, and then he'd come back the next day and submit the one that he actually made, and that would always pass.
I'm sure at this point Todd like kind of wishes for the Halcyon days where that was a regular thing.
Todd wishes for a new form of hell instead of whatever Starfield is.
Yeah.
Like
genuinely.
Like okay, one of the great things I gotta say about Morrowind is it literally is probably the best. I don't want to say like the best, but it's a very, very, very good immersive sim. It really gets you in the world. Once you start understanding its systems, it really unlocks. and just like it makes you feel like an actual adventurer because it's like I have to bring cure disease potions, I gotta bring stamina potions, I gotta bring health potions, I gotta bring mana potions, I gotta bring whatever potions, I gotta bring scrolls for stuff, I gotta be prepped when I'm going out on an adventure because who knows what is gonna happen and where I'm gonna get stuck. Like you feel like an actual adventurer, what I greatly appreciate from Morrowind.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of always flabbergasted at how fucking big the map is. I mean, it's got the typical Bethesda thing where it's like, I mean, there's stuff to discover, but it's all generally the same flavor of thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So, there's maybe some fun quests here and there along the way, but nothing particularly mind-blowing. It's just like a giant fucking thing to romp around in and have a little bit of fun in. Don't expect anything particular. So, it's fun going back and seeing some of that design. In some ways, I like it more than Skyrim and Oblivion. Obviously, in other ways, I don't.
Which one did you start with?
Oh, Morrowind's the first one I've ever played.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
we played the shit out of it when we were younger.
Oh, that's good. I started with Oblivion, and then my father was like, so that's the 4th game. Do you want to play the 3rd game? I'm like, sure, Dad. And then he like threw Morrowind at me, and I'm like 9 or whatever. No, I had to be a little older. Because Morrowind came out in 06.
Yeah.
So it's probably 11. And he was like, here you go. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm an idiot. But it's such a great game.
I really truly think it's like Bethesda at their best in a lot of ways, simply because like the world itself is so fucking weird.
Oh yeah, and it's
so like, strange.
It works too. It's like probably one of the best parts about it is that it like how do I say this? Like it's a world that when you look at it, it actually functions and works and is kind of, I guess, fun to be in. And makes sense in its own weird way. Like nothing is just like magically explained away. It's all like once you get into the motivations of the villains, like Dagoth Ur, you get why he's fucking evil, and you also like get why because he also makes a very compelling argument for you to join him. But it's also like he's fundamentally flawed at the same time, and you only discover that as you go through. You've already played this game. The fuck do I care for spoiling shit to you?
Yeah, I don't give a shit. I have not played so much of this game. Like I know how you killed Lord Dagoth Ur and you're the Neververine and all that fucking shit, but like
yeah.
I did not know this dwarf guy existed.
Really? You need to talk to him to continue on in the main quest. He's
Yeah, I'm talking to him right now. He's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Are we gonna be playing video games while chatting about LVO then?
Most likely.
Okay, I don't want to do something too loud. Maybe I'll pop in Elden Ring. You know what? I'll do another playthrough of Lucid. That's a fun game. And also it's
there you go.
There we go. I don't have to like think, and that's the whole point, is to not think while I do this.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I play Elden Ring.
How the fuck do I get out of here?
You have levitation?
I've got the potions. It's more I'm in
the basement. Oh, you just fucking get
exactly.
out.
I'm in the bowels.
Yeah, like you just...
I forgot the map actually matters. There we go. Oh yeah, we're good. Yeah, I'm tricked out in full glass armor. I've got my Daedric fucking weapon. I'm rolling along.
You see me?
I still need to work on my I still need to work on my fucking security so I can
actually pick something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm like my security is like 50 something, but there's a bunch of fucking level 100 chests here. You missed, bitch.
Yeah, there's. That's the thing. Like, you can take a potion of security. You can cast a scroll of security. You can cast a scroll or spell of getting through the chest better. Like, or not better, but like actually just doing it for you, so you don't have to.
Am I in the wrong spot? What's with the music changes here? I was in the wrong spot. Oh, we're good. I am so good at this game. I'm definitely going to come back here if I'm still like playing this fucking thing in a while and go try to steal that shit.
I've forgotten how to play this game because I haven't touched it in forever.
Yeah.
I need to go look at the controls. Game, thank you.
Finally beating the fucking DLC is on my list of things to do for Elden Ring. Or when I pick it back up soon, I should rather say.
Yeah, I've already beaten it like a bunch of times. I don't know. There's a bit of me where I'm like, I should probably sit down and like, what the hell is it? Okay, well that's how to use that ability. I should probably just get to like New Game Plus 7 because I'm on New Game Plus 6. But it's one of those things where I'm like, oh, there we go. Okay, cool. Like you played the game enough where you're just like, okay, like I'll come back to it. I'll take a break. I'll come back to it. It's fine. I'll start another playthrough. Whatever. Nothing too crazy. So, you want to talk about LVO?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. Hello and welcome to BonkTable. I'm Mass. This is another LVO battle report with Brian.
Hi. I've just cured my corpus disease. And I'm feeling as good as I ever have. You know?
I'm finally free of hell.
Finally. I'm finally out.
This is what true corpus really is. No one got food poison this year, right, at LVO?
Not to my knowledge. We all seem to dodge it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Flavortown did not strike us this time. So.
Flavortown. Let's try that again. What? So, first things first. What list did you bring at LVO? What's that? Tell us about it. Tell me about your list. I want to know that information.
Yeah. So I brought speakers. Excuse me. I brought speakers, and that showed up on your channel. We did play that game.
Yeah, we did. I believe it's out there as a battle report between you and me. But, like, go over the list again, because people want to hear it, because some people don't but some people don't follow the battle reports. You know how it is.
Yeah. So it's Thunder Chieftain, Warlord. So shock to all speakers units, so all the dinos get to smash the shit out of things on the charge. It runs double Thunder Riders, MSUs. I think it's incorrect to take anything more than an MSU with Thunder Riders. Or rather, to beef up the unit of Thunder Riders, I should say. You should take the double MSU. Then double Raptor Rider, double Hunting Pack, a Scion with a MSU of Chosen, a Quaddle, and the Predator riding an Apex Predator.
Oh.
And that's it. That's the list.
So what's your game plan with the list? Because you have the Raptor Riders. I believe you have Hunting Pack, if I recall. I'm visualizing the game we played. I'm pretty sure Hunting Pack are in there. You have I know you have.
Did I say double Hunting Pack? I thought I said double Hunting Pack.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you did. I'm just stabbing stuff in some random game as we both decide to play video games while doing this.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll keep us on task.
As we both know, the answer is no.
Yeah, exactly. And Mass keeps clicking.
Oh, you know what? Does that actually pick up? It doesn't pick up with the recording, so that's all I'm happy about.
I heard it, and that's what matters. So I could tell.
Oh boy.
I could tell the dear listeners.
Oh boy, these poor people. I should probably stop and be professional.
Yeah.
I always love when people are like, oh man, it'd be really great if you like did these things, and it's like, no. Yeah, you know what? It's too much clicking. I'm gonna get out of this. I'll be professional. I'll kick back and relax. There we go. Kick back and relax mass has appeared. You can play
hey.
Everyone's gonna hear my mic shuffle over and be like, what the fuck, man? I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Okay, let's get into this. It's been us being nonsense about Morrowind, us being nonsense about video games, us just being nonsense. Get that beer correct. And, okay, so your list. You got double Thunder Rider, double Raptor Rider, I believe double Hunting Pack. I can pull this up, I know that. Where is my YouTube channel? There's the game we played.
Go reference that.
Yeah,
anyone who
it'll be in the description below if you really want to see it. So, double Thunder, double Raptor. You got your cock. You got a Predator on top of another Predator, a Quaddle, and double Hunting Pack. Okay, so what is your list designed to do? Like, what is your game plan with the list? Let's start with that. So now we know what it is. Because, like, to be honest, when I first saw this, I was like, oh, this will be easy. There'll be no issues. I was wrong.
Yeah. So, there's whenever I show people that list, very often the assumption is that it is an aggressive list, and because it's got the Raptor Riders and the Hunting Pack, and I guess the Chosen follow that up because you get triple action onto the board. That is incorrect because really the main fucking guidepost of how you approach actually opening up a fight in Conquest is, do I have my army in position? And I truly mean the army, right? Like, you shouldn't be picking fights without the rest of your army on the board, which is why it's so important to have your army on the board as soon as possible, so that you can fight for the zones that much earlier and force your opponent to react to your decisions. So with that in mind, when you look at the list, and I think half the list, or at least close to it, I don't know the exact points off the top of my head, but both Thunder Rider units, the Thunder Chieftain, and the Predator and the Apex Predator, that's like a third of the list's points at least, close to half. So you're not taking any fights until that's all available on the field.
Your Thunder Chieftain is 170 points. Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah, he's an expensive boy, so you gotta be coy with it, and you gotta make sure you're picking your fights. Now, all that being said,
your 3 heavies is 910 points.
Okay, yeah, so almost half the list, right? Yeah. So I don't want to pick any fights without half my list being there. That's just because then I'm fighting someone. If most of the time you're gonna run into someone who's got especially when you hit the top tables, you're gonna run into someone who has fucking 8, 9, sometimes 10 cards on turn 2. You're not winning that fight with half your list, so you gotta play it coy.
I feel like I experienced that the other day for some reason.
Yeah, it's almost like Nords do that a lot. We'll get to that game because he was my final matchup, but Carl's Raiders list is a good example of this. Carl's Raiders list can actually pick a fight on turn 2 because over half of his army is on the board at the end of 2.
Do the Raiders have flank? I forget.
No.
You just roll well and all your Raiders show up and they're fucking annoying.
I mean, yeah, they're 4 or less. And you guarantee on the block. The block is fucking 400, 500 points or some shit like that. And then you guarantee on the Valk block on turn 2. That's another fucking 500 points. Over half that list is on the field and marching up to half the board. So we can actually pick those early fights. But the WOD list doesn't do that. So all that said, the WOD list, its job is to kind of just zone out the opponent, kind of make it very make it very difficult to approach your back half of the board. And otherwise kind of shape the battlefield a little bit with those initial deployments, particularly the Hunting Pack, such that when your Thunder Riders do show up, they are showing up and kind of just storing one side of the board and sweeping it all away. And all the other pieces like the Apex and the Quaddle or Flex pieces.
Yeah, the Quaddle's a very good tech piece I've been finding as we played our game and also like seeing it be played. It's like it's not gonna win the world on its own, but my god, is it ever gonna be an annoying bastard to finally get rid of?
Yeah, like it's 15 wounds D3 R3. Like it's actually tougher than it looks, and of course it can go pretty much anywhere on the battlefield it wants to.
Yeah,
the ability to kind of fly over units and hit things, that doesn't happen that often, but it's relevant. And sometimes, like, it's not the piece I absolutely want to live at the end of the game necessarily, but it's one of my, like, it's right behind the piece I want to live at the end of the game is the Thunder Chieftain. But like right behind that is the Quaddle, typically, because that thing is just so fucking terrifying in the late game.
Yeah. Quaddles are good. They're very solid, especially at 170. Like they do a lot of things. Man, they're 170. Mass, remain calm. Remain calm. You can do this. You could be good. You could be good. Do it for Brian. I'm looking at your list as we're talking about it. I'm just like, my god. There's so much efficiencies in here.
Yeah. Like that's part of what makes the kind of. I slept in Caius's house. Something attacked me, and I hit it with my boom axe, which does explosive fire damage. And now Caius is hitting me. He doesn't like me anymore.
The Imperial meth addict.
Yeah, the shit out of me.
He's like, oh,
bullshit.
Get away from my moon sugar.
Yeah, exactly.
For the listener.
Anyway.
Brian, talk about Wadroon also playing Morrowind. Myself, not allowed to play any games because I click too much, and my mic picks it up.
I mean, you can play it. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, like the list is like... Part of what makes the counter aggro element of it work so well is that it can go wherever it needs to go very efficiently. Like, a bunch of stuff has fluid formation. Like 5 of the regiments have fluid formation. A bunch of it's like movement 8.
Yeah, like
volleys, free action volley, like
Raptor Riders. They're movement 8, aren't they?
Raptor Riders are movement 8. Yep.
So your lights are all movement 8. Your Quaddle's probably an 8, I think, off the top of my head. Your Apex Predator, I know for sure, is 8.
The Quaddle is 9.
Oh my god, the thing can...
the Apex is 8.
Yeah, it's only the Chosen and the Thunder Riders, but even then, the Thunder Riders are coming from downtown, and the Chosen are also coming from downtown. Like, your list is incredibly fast, and you have... you basically just have railguns ready to go.
That's exactly right. Like, it can reach out and slap anyone. Like, usually I'll deploy the Raptor Riders to the middle of the board. Unless, like, I know specifically what the opponent's going to do, but, like, that's usually where they go, because then they can kind of just reach out from there and cover a lot of space.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's pretty strong.
Something I also noticed because of the speed of your list and how far, like, I've started calling them closers, like the Thunder Riders. Because that thing just, like, forces people to pick up a regiment, and we'll start closing out a game. Because they threat so far, usually, in a normal, quotes, Wadroon list, they're running some infantry, they're running some other dinos, they have a wide variety of speeds, and the Thunder Riders sometimes don't necessarily get a chance to just, like, long bomb charge someone across the table and blow them up, and not have retaliation. With your list, however, because everything is so quick, you can have the Thunder Riders long bomb, blow something up, and then have, like, the Raptor Riders and Hunting Pack protect its flanks and keep more stuff off of it to keep it safe for next turn. Just because they're just due to their speed. What I've noticed.
Yeah, like it's kind of what I mean by like shaping the battlefield, right?
Yeah.
You want it because first of all, it informs how your opponent is going to counter deploy.
Mm-hmm.
So they got to answer where you place those initial units. But as they answer that, it also informs where your Thunder Riders go. Now, the other thing that you have to keep in mind with them, though, is that they hindering terrain is the worst possible thing that they could be looking at. So that will also kind of like if your opponent is savvy to that fact, then they will deploy around that as well.
Yeah, then there also needs to be hindering terrain on the table.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like the first things to die are going to be those hunting pack, and hopefully the Raptors right after that, because the other pieces are more important, especially because the scoring in that list is so minimal. There's only 5 scoring units, which is pretty small. So they're high value. You got to keep them alive. So, but yeah, the Thunder Riders will usually kind of like, I've deployed them in pincers before, which is fine sometimes, but like I found, especially by the time I reached LVO, that like they want to be together on a side of a board. So
yeah. Because then if someone ever like gums you up, you have the other one who clears it off, and the other one gets to push forward. So you're still progressing up the table, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the same thing with the Ironclads. I had Apex drop double Tauntor on one flank at a game, and I was like, oh god. This is so much wounds to kill.
That's the fun shit about monsters, right? Like it's a little more fraught for Thunder Riders simply because they have a wider frontage than monsters, but not so wide that it's not impossible. Like you got a 4 and a 3, so it's not that big a deal. But yeah, like when you drop to that, just the sheer amount of points in such a small fucking space, that's pretty scary. Pretty scary to deal with.
So, what are some matchups you want to go into? Like, what are you looking for? Like, what are lists or archetypes in the game that you're like you feel very comfortable and strong into because your list deals with them very effectively? What are those?
I don't know. I don't really approach the game that way.
Okay, then how do you approach the game?
if I'm genuine, because I'm very much of the I want to take all comers kind of thing. I will say the list was definitely built with like aggro stuff in mind, because that's just kind of where Conquest is at the moment. Like all the scary lists, in my opinion, tend to be pretty. They hit the ground running from turn 1 onward.
Yeah.
So like Ghost Jail Lords, other WAD lists like Tribes in particular. Stuff of that nature. Goons. I would put Ray Goons as actually a really strong list, even if the faction's a little bit behind. So, yeah, it's definitely meant to kind of handle those things. I don't know, like we've been calling it counter aggro. Well, I guess that's a way.
Yeah, that's how. To be honest, that's how metas develop. Like someone will find something strong, someone will play the counter to it, and then someone will either have a counter to the counter. And then they'll kind of like skip through and win out a tournament, kind of like a dark horse, while that counter will do well, but it won't climb to the top because they'll finally hit their counter. Sorry, not their counter. Like the meta list is doing very well, but it won't win because usually the counter's there to like knock it out before it does win. But sometimes that meta list does make it through because it didn't encounter the counter. That was a weird string of words, but.
Counter the counter.
Yeah, but usually it's just a evolution arms race. This happens all the time as games develop and metas form. It's like, what do you do for X? You do Y. What do you do for Y? You do Z, and you continue on from there. And then eventually, what's really funny, is that X, what was initially the meta, comes back usually 6 months to a year later because the meta shifted again. And it no longer has the counter to it. It's always funny. So it just goes on cycles.
It does.
Like where I'm coming from with this is like... I followed like 10 years of War Machine. I've seen it in War Machine. It's very, like, I've seen the same thing happen in Conquest. Like,
where I'm coming from with this, though, is not necessarily that, like, it's the strong, like, style and then another style beats it, necessarily, because the list just has so much movement output that, like, it can turn on a dime. Like, I think the broader... I always think back to... Carl and I were talking about this a little bit. There's a famous... I got lesson. A guy wrote an article on it that is pretty... Like, Magic Strategy 101. It's called Who's the Aggro?
Yeah, okay.
You may have heard of it or talked about it. So, like, if two red deck win players, hit the table and are looking across each other... Who's the aggro? Right? Both their decks are built the same way, so who becomes the aggro? And what that means is that, like, So you have to identify who has the more aggressive build, or even just like the more aggressive opening. So, like say in Conquest, like you might fuck up your reinforcement rolls, and that person is going to determine the tempo of the game. So, what when you look at what Wadroon does, or at least what my speakers list does, its movement potential is such that we're talking like turn 3 is not that far into the game before it wants to actually like reach out and explode. Another thing I didn't mention, by the way, is that the Thunder Chieftain Supremacy is only active when he's actually on the field, which is partly why you don't want to actually do anything with the list until it's turn 3 and he shows up. But all that said, like, I assume you'll ask me about the game. So we get to the first game.
Don't worry. We gotta do the list breakdown, and then also the art of war right now.
not to jump the gun on the very important programming schedule here, but in the first game, like the list was, I was the aggro list.
Yeah.
Essentially, and I treated it that way. So my list kind of just reached out and exploded. Now that was partly enabled by the way he played, but the list can do that, right? So like it's not really. I don't really think of it as like there's specific matchups that I am looking forward to or looking for. I mean, I'm always happy to fight like not so good players. It's a tournament. Free wins are free wins. But
because eventually you gotta fight Carl.
Yeah, exactly. Or fucking Chuck.
Yeah.
Or Andrew or any of those guys. Like, if Ben ever showed up to a tournament again, then he would be fucking enemy number 1. But like, yeah. The list, that's one of the reasons he comes out of retirement like fucking George Foreman style and just starts slaying alls on the fucking tarmac. But yeah, the list is good enough that like I'm pretty comfortable piloting it into pretty much any scenario. Yeah, I would say.
No, that's good. Like, because Conquest is a one list format, you need a list to cover a wide variety of things, and also have something that kind of shoves it down your opponent's throat if they don't know how to deal with it.
Exactly.
Like, your list does that. So
yeah, I was gonna say like that. Honestly, like this list, like that's one of its biggest strengths is that I don't think people understand how to deal with it when they first look at it.
No, because it doesn't make any sense when you like. Baseline when we played that list, I was like, oh, okay, so maybe I'll have some difficulties, but this shouldn't be too bad. Yeah, I was wrong. I didn't understand what you were trying to do, and that cost me the game.
Yeah.
So
it's not a straightforward look to it.
But like that's what happens because like we're getting out of tier 1, like I guess tier 1 orders where like how prevalent strategies develop where it's like this is something like an 8-year-old developed and it's really good, and then as the game develops, like you get into tier 2 and 3 and 4 and you have more and more stuff or more and more things you look at as the game goes on, and that's a sign of a really good and healthy game. So like your list is not a tier 1 order. Like it's not something someone would look at and go, oh yeah, this is like my 10-year-old could build this in their basement and like go and do decently well kind of thing. It's like, I have no idea what Brian is doing right now. Come and fight me. So that's also a good sign of the health of the game as well.
I would tend to agree, like especially because like when you get down to it at the end of the day, like rank and flank is there's 2 ways to approach your deployment in rank and flank, and it's usually refuse castle or refuse flank castle or horns of the ball.
Yeah,
like it's some variation of those 2 things. So like finding those kind of ways that like stretch those concepts.
Like you can look at
even if they return home to them eventually, like it can throw people through a loop.
Like you could look at actual like human history in the battles of antiquity. Like a lot of their strategies with their large groups of troops and regiments and everything was like, do I want a strong center? Do I want a weak center? Where am I going to move my troops? Where are the cavalry? Like it like literally was just all about like where am I going to place my stuff? How am I going to hit my opponent? What speed am I going to go at in? Like one of them, like I was watching, I forget what the hell it was. Rome versus Carthage, and there's this big battle outside of Carthage, and basically like the 2 armies, they showed up for 6 days. They would walk out and stare at each other, and a Carthaginian general could see that the middle part of the army had all the elite troops in it. So he's like, okay, my opponent has a really strong center. And then on the 6th day, his opponent, I think, like, attacks his camp or something, like, to force him out early, to, like, piss off everybody, lines everyone up, and his opponent knows, like, okay, he's shown a strong center 6 days in a row, and he comes out with a weak center, strong flank, and so the Romans' army, their strong troops hit the weak troops on the Carthaginian, and the strong troops can't go anywhere because the weak troops from the Roman army are slowly marching forward, and so they can't just turn and expose their flank and deal with the strong troops and help out the weaker troops, but now they're getting boxed in by 3 sides. Like, and that was a battle.
Yep.
Like, but like that's
that's also
what happens in Conquest.
It's all fucking ancient tactics. Like that's literally Scipio turning it around on Hannibal for Cannae.
Yeah.
Because Cannae was literally just like, oh, the center looks like it's collapsing. Let's drive on through. Oh wait, now we're surrounded.
Yeah, I think
and
that
we literally
Scipio.
can't go anywhere.
I don't think that was him versus Hannibal, because his Hannibal fight is Hannibal has him outnumbered, and Scipio uses the Numenian cavalry. I forget what they're actually called, but like I think I know they start with an Numenian. Chases off
Numidian.
Numenian. Chases off his cavalry, and then Hannibal has his troops basically weak, good, elite in like 3 lines, or effectively 3 lines, and Scipio puts his troops in there, kills all the weak guys, kills all the medium guys, and now his troops are like super tired. They're fighting the strong elite troops from Hannibal, and Scipio is literally just hoping that his cavalry, what chased off his opponent's cavalry, will come back in time to hit Hannibal in the back to win that fight. And if they don't come back in time, he's going to lose, but if they do come back in time, he's going to win. Like, that was the strategy.
God damn it, man. I gotta fucking read up on my ancient Roman stuff again.
Wow, it's like I'm Italian or something.
So
no problem.
It's been a while for me. I haven't looked at any of that stuff in like over a decade now.
Yeah, but like also like we just set up our stuff. Like you can get baseline ideas of how to do a battle or like where your steps want to be for a fight off of like ancient history, but also you got to look at a lot. Like ancient battles, there's a lot more going on than just the battle itself. Like the dude set up for like 6 days in one fight just to taunt his opponent to be like, "This is what I'm gonna do," and then on the last day, he swapped it up out on him and just like killed him. Like that's not gonna happen in a game of Conquest, but the idea of what he did will happen in a game of Conquest.
Can you imagine if Conquest, not even 6 days, but just like, you had to like set up the logistics and everything before the fight, and then like, you actually like the first, all right, we got our reinforcement here. Oh, you refuse to fight? Okay, we'll come back tomorrow. Like,
I gotta pay like an exorbitant amount of logistic fees to get my troops from Winnipeg to LVO. Like, fuck.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
get these ironclads through the mountains, guys.
might as well play Total War at that point, really.
Oh yeah. So no, they're like, yeah.
Anyhow.
I would, for the listener, if you want to get some good ideas for Conquest, for strategies and stuff, go look at Battles of Antiquity. They're also fun. There's plenty of YouTube channels that go over it.
Probably some of the most like studied fucking battles in history too.
Oh like, yeah, genuinely. There's tons of
almost as like not as much as like fucking Waterloo, but like
Well, World War II. Why do you think we have so much World War II stuff? Because it was heavily recorded, like heavily recorded, compared to World War One. Like that's one of the big things why there's so much World War II content out there.
It's also like the scope of it. Not to mention that we live in
post World
War to this very day. Yeah, it's literally like World War II's era.
Oh yeah, no, like World War II defines so much stuff of our current like. I don't want to say situation, but like how countries developed afterwards.
Oh yeah, this sounds all very obvious to say.
Yeah,
with how true it is. But like, honestly, like a lot of the problems that you see today geopolitically are the final reckonings of like shit that was laid out in the post World War II era. But anyway,
yeah,
this is not a history podcast.
It can be.
Oh, okay. I know more about like political and intellectual history than I do war history. But
I know. The problem is like I know a lot of war history.
Okay.
I gotta listen to some podcasts about war.
War.
War. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. All right, let's get back on topic. All right. So okay, so you want to play into a lot of different things. Your list covers a lot of different things. Is there anything, like, not necessarily that you're like, oh, this isn't going to be an easy one. Okay, like, how about this? Is there anything that you were scared of to deal with, or you were worried about?
I'll say, like, I was more wary of ghosts than most things because I've been trying to get a practice game in with Steve before LVO, and that never panned out. So Carl ran Steve's ghost list, and he done beat me with it. And but there were like good lessons learned from it. Like I completely overestimated the Thunder Riders' ability to deal with Praetorians on their own. Praetorians actually kind of like shrug them off when it's just a one Thunder Rider, you know, like even with the Thunder Chieftain in it. And although like dice were a factor, like they ended up like chewing them down, like for it to be as close as it was. For dice to be a factor, like I had to rethink that shit. And otherwise, yeah, like the ghosts can, because their threat range is so fucking absurd, they can kind of like, I know I disavowed the phrase earlier, but they can counter the counter aggro.
Look, there's
across the fucking.
It's already happening.
Wrong. They can still overextend, but like, it's much harder for me to like. Part of the power of like why you can't move into my list is because Raptor Riders just outrange you, but like ghosts outrange the Raptor Riders, so they have much more leeway. And you know, both kinds of ghosts I would add too. So they just have much more leeway of like opening and picking the fight. So that was a tough fight. I ran into ghosts once. Yeah, once I did run into a variant of ghosts over LVO. So it was good practice to have before that.
Cool. Is there anything you want to else mention about the list, or anything else kind of in this quotes section of our 5-part meal that is your trip to LVO?
Dinos are really fun.
I'm glad.
You know? Dinos are very, very fun. Like tribes, the fucking tribes list is probably still the stronger WOD list ultimately.
Well, because it's aggro,
it's just,
isn't it? Like,
I mean, it's I don't even know. Like, it's a pressure list. You know what I mean? Like, we throw these terms around. I'm never happy with them because Conquest is such a kind of broad game. But yeah, it's a pressure list. Aggro to me is like you're in the opponent's back forward with force by like turn 2, starting fights turn 3. I would not describe tribes as that. Even though tribes can be like in your face by the end of 3. So, like, you know, that's a turn of difference. So I don't know. Come at me in the comments, I guess.
The comments I'm gonna have to answer.
I'll be semantic. Yeah, exactly. I'll get semantic with you, you fucking internet nerds.
Oh boy,
Here we go.
I love it when someone starts saying like absolute nonsense in a comment. Oh, do you want to answer a comment? Because this one's more directed towards you than it is me, and I just have not bothered. Okay.
What is it?
Okay, hold on. Let me go. Oh, wait a minute. I was already on it. I'm pretty sure I was. Also, unintentionally on it. The surprise is that you did win LVO. So there's some gentleman's like, given you won LVO, guess Dino Spam is definitely the only way to win as Wadroon, ... As a Wadroon player that liked the concept of lots of orcs and bodies really diminishes my drive to enjoy the faction. I love dinos, but heck... This guy's not spelling very well. But hecking to meta chase to just get wins. I'm glad you're making use of the changes. I haven't really enjoyed them myself. Like, I don't know what this guy wants, to be honest.
I mean, I like that comment a lot because I've said before that I think the reason why most people pick Wadroon is because they like dinosaurs, and this guy's like, I want my fucking foot-bound orcs. What are we talking about? So, you know, everyone's different. I literally, like I just said before, like tribes is probably the stronger list. So he's perfectly fine, I'm sure. But like, the main problem with the logic there is that, you know, I don't know if this is a symptom of like Warhammer brain. Not necessarily that he is a Warhammer player, but just like the game has its influence everywhere. But the list does not like Conquest is skill based enough, and things are closely balanced enough, despite what you may hear from one sector or another, that like you can bring a lot of different lists and probably stand a very good chance of winning if you're good enough at the game. like Chuck's existence proves that.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean.
That's...
Like Chuck shows up with anything and like fucking gives people conniptions. So
if Chuck and I ever do a 1v1, I'm gonna just like plaster his face as the Majora Mask Moon, because it's like that's every time I play. I played him once and it felt like that fucking moon was coming for me.
Yeah.
It's like, oh god, or I'll be like Willem Dafoe staring up. I'll be like, oh no.
The inscrutable fucking power of the universe. It's bearing down on you in ways you cannot fathom. Yeah, that's what that shit is. So like, yeah, that one list winning one tournament does not mean that that's the only fucking list in the faction. Like, that's just such a weird way to look at it. So
it really.
If you're not a commenter, you can run your orcs on feet and have a good time.
Yeah, like there's tribes. Foot orc still works.
Forks, if you will.
Is that what we're calling them now?
I came up with it.
Okay, copyright this. TM.
Copyrighted.
Okay, so
Forks.
So your list.
Oh fuck.
You have a plan. You know what to do. How was your trip to LVO?
I hate flying.
Oh, actually?
Like, it's not my favorite thing in the world. I mean, like the flying part itself is not that bad. That doesn't bother me that much. But some planes are just horribly cramped. Like the plane there. Plane back wasn't as bad, but the plane there, like my girlfriend and I were just like completely sardine packaged in. I'm not like neither of us are like, big people or anything. And it's just how fucking small that plane is. My knees were killing me, and then you roll the dice on who your fellow passengers are going to be every single time, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But and then security and all that shit is fucking annoying as hell. So I'm not a huge fan of the whole experience of flying. But that being said, it went smooth enough that wasn't terribly worried about it. And then we fucking Ubered on over to the hotel, and the Gold Coast has an incredible Cantonese restaurant within it. It's called Ping Pang Pong. I don't know if that's an actual phrase in Cantonese or they're just appealing to American racism. I don't know what's going on there, but the restaurant was fucking delicious. It was the first time I ever had dim sum, and it was good. It was very, very good.
Dim sum or dim sum?
I don't know. It's dim sum.
That's what I would ask.
I don't know. Well, we're talking about the same thing, I'm sure.
Yeah, the dumplings.
Yeah, the dumplings.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's dim sum. Yeah, no, dim sum's amazing.
It's so good, dude. I fucking loved it. Oh, and if you are ever in Vegas, whoever you are out there, go to Primal.
Oh, don't worry.
Fucking drop.
We'll get to
$400 on a steak. Yeah.
When you come to
so good.
When you come to Winnipeg, I'll take you guys to Carnival. It's like the Brazilian meat place. You just get the food off the swords. That's always fun.
Oh hell yeah! Yeah, I'm down for that.
Oh, it's like right beside the waterfront, so you can like look at the river.
Ooh, even better.
Yeah.
Last time this is a quick final story before we get into the meat of this interview. When I moved to Wilmington, North Carolina, to go to college, my roommate invited me out to dinner with his adopted father, essentially, and that dude's lady friend. And it was at a restaurant attached to a hotel on the beach. So we were sitting outside, and it was like really, really nice. Now his dad is apparently like he's got a girl on call in every city that he's in. It's that kind of setup. And I just got to point out that like one of the most fucking crazy awkward moments of my life. The girl, like, she had spilled wine on her fucking hand, and without missing a beat, this fucking old ass bald dude just like takes her hand and just licks her hand all the way up her arm. And she's like giggling the whole time. And me and my roommate again. This is my roommate's dad. We're just sitting there like, why did you do that?
Are they gonna fuck on the table in front of you? Like, Jesus Christ!
I was terrified of the prospect of that. Yeah, like that shit was crazy. I was like, I understand this is a very beautiful scene, but like, look who's sitting here. Please don't do that. Yeah, that's my story. So. That's a great segue, isn't it?
That's
the exact picture I want in your head when we talk about this.
Yeah, they'll segue nicely into the 3 stores at the at LVO over there. You want to go over them really quick for me?
The three stores?
Yeah, you have the game store, and then after you get tired, you can go over to the toy store, and then you can come back to the mattress store.
Yeah, so LVO took place in that freaking strip mall shopping center area. We never ended up going into the mattress store nor the love store, sadly. We were a little...
Why not? No, there's many reasons not to go in there.
Many reasons not to go in there. Also, there's always so much time and we're fucking exhausted anyway, but like... the store's Power 9 Games, that's what it was. I almost called it Games Plus, which is my local store here in Chicago, or Chicago area, but yeah. Power 9 Games, really nice place, big space. The owner was a cool guy. Lots of Magic the Gathering players in there who had to deal with us yelling and all that all day long. It was funny, kind of looking over. They were like looking up from their tables behind their fucking hands full of cards, going like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Can I tell you a quick story about Magic players and war gamers?
Are they licking each other's hands?
No, it's not that creepy.
Okay.
All right. What you got? So when I was doing being the TO for War Machine years ago, we used to, the Magic pre-releases were done in this church, and it had this huge space, and the Magic pre-release would only cover half of it, so we'd just do our tournaments in the other half of it. So one half, it was so quiet you could drop a needle and hear it. The other half were just screaming at each other. It was so good every time.
That sounds about right. The idea of a pre-release being held in a church is very funny to me. Like, I imagine, like, everybody has planes.
It's just a close place but had space to do a pre-release.
Yeah, why the hell not? Why the hell
I think it was like a block away from the store.
Every now and again I miss my my Magic the Gathering days, but not enough to actually go back.
Do you not
and
buy...
If I did go back, it would be Arena.
Do you not buy a commander deck once a year just to like pay your blood money to Wizards so they don't send the Pinkertons at you?
That shit. That was such a fucking crazy story. I was like, the Pinkertons still exist?
Yeah, right.
What the fuck, dystopia?
They're making a comeback?
Of all people funding sending them? Yeah, like what the fuck is this? No, I do not pick up any of those things. I have no idea what's going on in Magic other than like the nerds getting mad that there are apparently like brand deals with other universes.
Oh yeah, no, I picked up a Frodo commander deck at the start of the year just so I can pay my blood money so that I don't get bothered.
Well, they'll have to take my money out of my fucking cold, dead, cardless hands, I guess. Those sons of bitches. I've spent I spent more money as a fucking college student than I ever had to like legitimately justify on the fucking game, so they can fucking deal with it.
Okay, so
yeah,
round 1, you're playing your Dino Palace. Is that even the name of the list?
No, it is called Arise, Riders of Thunderin, because that's my Lord of the Rings pun for
nice. You know it's a good list when it has a pun for a name.
I think that's why I won.
Oh, yeah,
no other reason.
So who was your round 1?
Round 1 was a wonderful fellow by the name of Levi. Levi was running Sorcerer Kings, and he was running like, just general kind of standard Sorcerer King's good stuff, give or take a few swaps. He had a unit of goals, which is one of the worst swaps. But there it was.
They have a place, but they're still bad.
It's a bad place. So he had a unit of goals, 2 of each kind of flame or freak guys. He had 2 archer units, each, or one of them had the warlord fire. No, I think it was actually, he put the air one in there, but his warlord Maharaja, and then the other one had his Jadu Sork. And then he had a Mahout and a Rakshasa. So yeah, pretty Sorcerer King's good stuffs. I think it was Breakout. I'm pretty sure it was Breakout. This is the one with the 2 objectives in the middle.
Yeah,
the markers in the middle, and then the Maelstrom style zones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've played it enough. But how was the terrain on the tables?
Oh God.
All right, here we go. This is why I do these interviews.
Yeah. So terrain is a art. It's an art, genuinely. You want to find. I like Matt's description of like. I gotta watch your guys' terrain rating video. I like
3
Matt's
hours.
description.
Like, don't feel obligated.
Let's watch
to finish
more.
it.
Listen to.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
It's quite good because Matt will go, "This is just the wall again." It's like, goddamn it.
Yeah. Yeah. The terrain is the 3rd player on the board, which is, I like that description because it should have a fair amount of impact of what's going on, and it should influence how the game kind of shapes out. But there's a fine balance between setting up like interesting scenarios and problems that your opponents have to deal with, just like straight up shutting off strategies, which you don't necessarily want to do. Part of the problem is that they were using a bunch of the STLs of like the new terrain prints that they've been coming up with.
Which ones were they using? Because I know I've seen the Dwag and the 100k ones. I know there's a Nords one with a big ass boat. I think there's a Sorcerer Kings. What's like? I'm not gonna lie, it looks like various sizes of dildos.
Hey man, spinnerets. I'm pretty sure every single one made an appearance. At least I don't know if I remember seeing any of the 100 Kingdoms pieces, but like they used. I definitely saw. Yeah, I definitely saw the Sorcerer Kings. I saw the Nord stuff. I'm pretty sure I saw a Dwight piece.
Yeah, did you see any random ass houses on any of the tables?
I don't recall.
Okay, because like the 100k one out of all the other ones is the most like generic because it's a house. It's fantasy house.
Fantasy house.
Come to Fantasy House, where your wishes come true.
We have awkward angles. So yeah, the main problem with those pieces, like they look really nice, but they are giant pieces of impassable terrain at the end of the day. Especially with the way that they printed them. So it looked like they were to scale. So like these things were like fucking 10-inch by 10-inch, like 12-inch by 12-inch, like they were just fucking huge.
God.
Yeah. So like no matter where you put them on the board, they were just going to take up a huge amount of space.
Didn't you send share the photo of it was either you or Steve who shared the photo of the right side of the board being basically unplayable because it had too much impassable terrain to be relevant? It was either you or Steve.
That happened multiple times. It could have been either one of us. Like
I want to give it up to
worst
Steve for that one.
Fair enough. The worst ones that I experienced were in my fucking rounds. Honestly, they were in my rounds 2, 3, and 4.
Oh, okay.
They were all pretty bad for equal ways. Like it's very easy to just like shut off flanks with those pieces. And like, there's a reason, like we were just talking about battles in antiquity, there's a reason why these armies went out of their way to not fight like
in a field where there was nothing.
They went to fight in fields and fucking like at the worst like hills, and maybe like there's a thicket of fucking one thing or another nearby. Like they went out of the way to not fight in those fucking rough terrain. At least like if they're big organized armies, like that was just not the way to go about it. So
because it's a huge pain in the ass.
Yeah, and like don't get me wrong, like this is a game, so you want interest in on the table and everything. But like the size of the pieces was making it very difficult to like, you know, keep flanks relevant without shutting off the middle of the board. Like it was one or the other in a lot of cases. And then the other big problem, and it might just be because I'm a StarCraft guy, but I am a strong believer in symmetrical terrain placement. I'm pretty sure that's not a unpopular opinion by any stretch.
Here's the thing, though. You're actually supposed to do that, or be very close to in I believe, the rules.
Yeah, I think they are in like the new layouts that they have or whatever. Like they look like they're pretty symmetrical for the most part. But like, yeah, like you shouldn't be in such a situation where one side has such a clear advantage over the other. Yep. Like that's why like garrisons are bad. Because garrisons, by their nature, just like are useless for some armies and are ridiculously strong for others.
Yeah, have you ever had bow chosen in a garrison terrain, just like unloading into you? It's not fun.
No, yeah, that sounds absolutely horrific.
Yeah.
So I've dodged that, thankfully. Like the last LVO I was at, Ben and I specifically agreed to not run garrisons because that would like hose his army compared to mine.
And somehow, and if I recall correctly, you won that one as well.
I did, somehow or another. Yes, this is. I guess we haven't mentioned this yet. This is my second LVO win in a row that we're talking about.
So today. Should we get you a belt or something?
If it's one of those big WWE belts, I am all for 100%. 100%. Yeah, absolutely. I'll wear that. Absolutely. That sounds great.
Come back to LVO next year. It's like, I got the belt, guys.
Yeah, someone take it from me. I fucking dare you.
You like bite their hand. Ah, what the fuck, man?
I gotta choose my fucking. I gotta choose the song I walk into the store to.
Oh my god.
The fucking lights and the smoke and everything. I gotta figure out what that song is.
You got a year, so plenty of time.
Yeah, probably something by Caius.
Oh
or maybe Clutch. Anyway,
that's so good. Okay, so.
Yeah.
Round one, you have sufficiently complained about the tables that, yeah, I do agree with you. Like, tables do matter, and a lot of the times, I find for like major tournaments, it kind of sucks sometimes because TOs don't have enough terrain to make each table either interesting or enough terrain to be relevant, or they have whatever's left over and they kind of have to like place unoptimal terrain, which just kind of sucks. I've seen that problem pop up a couple times, but other times there's like plenty of terrain and it's still bad.
Yeah, like I do want to like acknowledge that PB is a smaller company and they've only got so many. Like they literally just sent Yanni out here with whatever stuff he needed to fucking make the shit happen. Like they had the store. I assume they paid them to do it. Like they had the guy print all those pieces because the store happened to have like a printer room.
Mm-hmm.
So they like printed all the fucking pieces they needed before the tournament happened. So now that store just has like a shit ton of conquest terrain.
Yeah.
Presumably.
Well, you can also use that for other stuff too.
You can, but it was just kind of funny. And then like Yanni shows up with like a bunch of the little fucking mats or whatever for the forests and everything, which was kind of fun because it was literally just like impassable pieces, forests, and like the little mats like could have been like look like rocky outcroppings or like wheat or anything like that. It's a forest, so that made it interesting too. But yeah,
no broken ground, only forest.
Only forests.
Wonderful. Okay, so your round one. What was going on there? What were some highlights in that game?
So I mentioned before,
yes,
that this was a good example of like why the list isn't necessarily just counter aggro, because in this game the list was the aggro, and that's partly the way the opponent played it, but it was also just like the nature of the matchup, right? Because like Sorcerer Kings are all about getting that engine up and running.
Yeah.
With their tokens and getting all their triple actions off the rituals. And, Mahout and the Rakshasa get to show up at the same time because Mahout, with the favorite of Hormus, has flank. So it does have some solid, reinforcement curve. But but it's still relying on a bunch of mediums. So it's a little slow on the board. Like, I don't think he got his final medium on until turn 4. So it was just as slow as I was, if not a little bit slower. And I would say probably, but not. Yeah, I would say slower because I had more lights. But in any case, you know, I had a much stronger ability to like pick on his early stuff. So all that said, you know, it was breakout, so we had the 2 markers in the middle. And he made, I think, 2 key mistakes that game that, you know, the picture you just uploaded to me is backstroke of the West, and I don't want to know what that.
He is the aggro.
You too careful, he is a big. Okay. Backstroke. I don't want to know why it's called that. But in any case...
I can explain that one after.
Okay. Yeah, I think he made 2 big mistakes.
Okay.
The first one was that he committed his goals. He committed his goals to trying to take out the center marker, or his enemy marker, my friendly marker, in the center of the board, like turn 2. His other big mistake, and this one compounded off that first one, was he split his archers, his Danner archers, Danner disciples. That's what
I'm not gonna lie, I just keep calling them the archers.
Yeah, they were called Danner Veda archers or some shit like that at one point. I might have just spoiled something. That's my bad, PB.
No, that was that was already known. It got a name change I'm not sure, so don't quote me on this. It might be a religion, it might not be, but it is a group because they were Danavinian like disciples or archers or whatever. But it's a legit historical thing that I believe they didn't want to like deal with A, copyright, or B, being sued, so they had to change the name. Like that was why, because it was an actual historical thing, and they might have had legal troubles with it or something. That's why I got the name changed. That one's known. I'm pretty sure Stravos in a happy hour said about drop that, why the name got changed.
Okay.
Because I think there's the Sacred Band, and we know what the Sacred Band is, just the handholdy guys in Greece.
Yeah.
I don't believe there's any I think the Divinian archers are still around, or they're still used in some way currently, while the Sacred Band is not at all. So it was something like you're not going to get sued for or have any legal issues over. I think it was one of those reasons.
That's something that happens a lot in the West. Like, we kind of forget that, or never paid attention to in the first place, that Hinduism is still widely practiced in various. Not that I don't know if that is directly attached to Hinduism, but there's a lot of stuff in India that we kind of just take for granted as oh, we can use these silly old myths. And it's no, people still very much believe in that, and you should probably be.
Yeah, you should be either A, more respectful, well, you should just be more respectful towards it, or B, learn more about it to understand it more, so you have a better understanding of when is the appropriate time and place to use these things, or what is actually going on. I have a side tangent from work, but I'm not going to get into it.
Okay, fair. That doesn't bode well.
It's not appropriate.
In any case, the first mistake was the goals going at the marker. The other mistake was he split his archers. So he put the Jadu Stork archer unit down the middle, and which it was the real big compounding part here. And the Warlord unit went down the another flank, my left side. And the reason those were mistakes was because the ghouls basically locked themselves into combat with a marker with Raptor Riders and Hunting Pack nearby.
Oh, that's really bad.
Unless, to all you players out there, unless you're going to kill that marker in a turn, that's not, you don't, this early in the game, you just don't do that, because then your unit is just out of commission for a fucking few turns. And that's not good in the early game. The only time that you ever want to actually spend 3 turns bringing down a marker is in the last few turns of the game, where it's safe to do.
Or if you're melee, I guess your melee attack is the last wound on it, so it's dead and you can move forward after.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you want
Yeah.
there's got to be some setup here so that you're doing it in an efficient manner. Like, you don't want your unit locked up for a number of turns. But in any case, he did that, and then because he did that, I had a unit of hunting pack that were like, ooh, hasty, and they fucking flanked it and brought it down in a turn. And that move let the Raptor Riders move up behind them fairly safely because he was stuck throwing the archer shots and the spells into that hunting pack. But the Raptor Riders move up behind it so that the next turn, even if I lose Supremacy and he blows up one, the other gets to move in and kill the Jadu Sork, which is exactly what happened, although I didn't actually lose the Supremacy. So, like, I won Supremacy and then the Raptors, well, I only had to donate one Raptor to go kill the Jadu Sork. And if you kill Jadu Sork in Sorcerer Kings, like, you just, like, like, an absurd amount of their output is just gone.
Yeah, like...
both for the rituals and because Jadu, so, like, that was very, very bad for him.
Like the last couple times I played into Sorcerer King, it's like I'm beelining for the wizards. Like, they have to die because you just shut down Sorcerer King so hard.
That is the goal. Like, Forklift Badger was talking to me because he played Levi later in the tournament. He lost, and he had never played Sorcerer Kings before, and he was saying, like, I played too passive, and then he just jumped all over me. I was like, yeah, that's kind of how that happens. Like, you got to look for those. Now he's playing Raygoons, and Raygoons doesn't exactly, like, it's not the most leap out and touch them kind of list.
No, you're kind of running up that table and just taking your lumps until you get there.
Yeah,
like there's been times where I've just ran into melee with the archers and was like, deal with me. Next turn,
but it's not like
them.
But, like, your ability to, like, wipe out a unit with the Zerkers is, like, the Zerkers have to be within 12 inches to even have a chance at all.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you got quite a bit of... So, that's a tough fucking setup to do, but, like, you can't play so passive. Like you said, you gotta go kill those fucking sorcerers.
No, like,
the other
even
thing...
then, Raygoons, like, the whole list is to, like, as you said before, apply pressure, be aggro, like, keep your opponent on their side of the table kind of thing. Like, you know you're getting into fights pretty quickly with Raygoons. But you still need the rest of your army on the board. Like, there's ways to play it, but sometimes you just kind of, like, blitz people.
It's the tension of the list. Like, we talked about this a little bit in the last game we played, but, like, it's actually kind of the same situation as this speakers list we're talking about right now, where a lot of your army is not in until turn 3, turn 4.
Yep.
So you have to be very careful about those plays. But that's a whole other discussion. Like, long story short, and as that happened, because I had already committed those pieces there, the Chosen to Conquest were just as, like, ready to fucking get in there. So as that happened, they shot up my right flank and smashed the shit out of one of his elemental units, and he had reinforced another one right behind it after that happened. But then they just, like, cleaned up that one and moved right on through. And picked up 2 elemental units almost for free, basically. Like, I think they took, like, 1 shot. And that was that. So, like, the list just jumped all over him in those initial moves, and that was that. Like, he moved the... once he lost that Supremacy and lost his Jadu Sork, the Rakshasa he was going to try to use to intercept one of the Raptors, he just threw it down the field at my... I think it was at my Quaddle, to try and tie up the Quaddle, but, like, the other Raptor unit that was still there just, like, dumped a bunch of wounds on it, and other stuff nearby just started eating the shit out of it. And, yeah, kind of. There was a
started eating shit.
There was a funny.
Like, God damn it.
Yeah, like, just chewing it apart. The Mahout cleaned up the Raptors that ate the Jadu, and then turned around to finally finish off the marker in the middle. And then the Apex Predator just, like, ate it in one turn. Like, it was rough all around for him after that. So. The left flank saw something kind of funny where, like, I sent the Thunder Rider MSU through to clean up an elemental unit, and then they crashed through to some archers. And the archers were, like, in terrain, so they didn't do impact hits.
Oh.
But then, like, the fucking sorcerer, the Maharaja there, was, like, a fucking Super Saiyan and just, like, lightning bolted them to death and then fucking meleeed them down, and I was like, holy shit. That was fucking violent as hell. Did not expect it to go that way, but at that point the game was already over. So, yeah, if you're a Sorcerer Kings and you're playing double archers, keep your archers together. I mean, that's kind of true for any army. Like, if you're running double fucking big commitment ranged units, you probably want to keep them together so they support each other. And if you have that unit of ghouls or another light unit around, they should probably just be there to screen and or counter whatever's hitting your archers, and not locked up on a marker. Those are the lessons.
Nice.
Especially into like that was, we were talking a little bit before about like not knowing how to play into my list, and that was a clear case of that. Like I don't think he at all expected the list to just reach out and smash it.
Very few people actually knew how to play into your list, or they were expecting something different, and then you did something different, and it was like, what do I do?
Yeah. Like there are multiple times, as we'll see, where like the threat range of that list just caught people by surprise. And
looks at Thunder Riders, 19 inches, great.
Yeah, or Chosen just like, oh, what are you, 13 inches away? Okay, auto charge clash, or march charge clash.
Just like, oh, cool, great. Like,
yeah.
How much of the table is actually safe to not just die? And it's like very little of it, surprisingly.
Yep, that's speakers.
So, congratulations on your round 1 win.
Oh, thank you.
Round 2. What'd you play into?
Ghosts!
Did you play Steve?
Ghosts!
Or you played some other guy who...
Hilariously, Steve's round 2 was Carl.
Yeah, there's a meme about it.
I literally, poor Steve, man, because like they announced the pairings, and they announced the Steve versus Carl, and I turned around, and Steve's shoulders just slumped, and his head fell. He was just so sad about it. Especially because Carl fucking built the Nords list like almost specifically to fucking beat Ghosts.
Well,
didn't he... That's how that went.
Well, because didn't Carl lose into Ghosts with Spires by like a hair or a timeout, and he was like, "I'm never losing a time again." Like he made it his commitment.
Yeah,
that's Carl. What happened. There's a lot of things to be said about Carl, but like that man will put the time and effort, and he's like a man of pure focus, commitment, and will to get a job done, and he will do it every time.
Yeah, I like literally after LVO, he's been like talking about like 13 card lists, because that's like he thinks that's part of his key to countering speakers. So yeah, he's definitely always on that up and up grind.
So listener, if you're listening to this in an audio format on like some podcast app like Spotify or Apple or Podbean or whatever you listen it to, this is also available on YouTube, and if you're on YouTube, these are also available on a podcast format. YouTube is mostly used as an archive in case I ever stop paying for the podcast, and you can still access them in the future when it's been like 15 years for some reason. But there will be a meme. You shall enjoy the meme of Carl, Steve, and Brian.
It's a pretty good meme.
Yeah, that was...
I enjoy it greatly.
Yeah, like Steve's... He's like, oh, Carl the Dread, and he's like, oh, full of harpoons, and I'm like, I know what I need to do now.
I need black fire bombs. Somebody, please.
Please.
Get me the black fire bombs.
Regular fire bombs won't do.
Ghosts had a really bad round 2 all around, essentially, in that fucking tournament.
It happens.
It happens, but I played a gentleman named Bob. Bob was also a wonderful guy. He, one of the most, like, other than Carl and Chuck, one of the most competent players there. And I don't even necessarily mean that in terms of, this sounds insulting now, that's not how I beat it at all, but, like, he was obviously, like, new at the game. Like, he was making some pretty newbie mistakes, but, like, he knew his rules. Good. He was on top of it. He was moving quick. He was very clear about what he was doing and talking through it, and was constantly, if he had questions, he quickly asked me, and we moved along with it. Like he was an absolute joy to fucking play. Like
wonderful,
genuinely. Like shout out to Bob. All players should be like Bob.
Good job, Bob.
So good job, Bob. So yeah, I very much enjoyed that aspect of the game. He was running Ghosts. He was running once again like just kind of like a variant of Ghosts. This one. I wrote that fucking report, and I could pull it up, but I don't feel like pulling it up because I don't want to read through my own fucking shit.
I'm not gonna lie, but I will not read that report until after I'm done interviewing you. So
that's fair. I almost feel like you shouldn't, because I'm pretty sure I'm just like repeating a lot of what I said in there.
That's fine. Like, now it's in the audio format. You know what I should have done? I should have got like audio clips of your voice and just fed it into an AI, then make it read your own report, and then I could just post that.
My head hurts thinking about that. Anyhow, he was running.
and
so
then
he
I
had
can
the
get it
Praetorian.
summarized because that's obviously what people want.
It's the wave of the future, baby. He was running Hyro Deacon in Cultists. I think that's where that unit is in the band. He had, I think, three MSUs of Legionnaires. The Archimandrite was hanging out in one of them. And he was running the Archimandrite as a Warlord, which I think is the weaker play there.
What was his other option?
Stratios Warlord.
Stratios?
Yeah, Stratios.
Yeah.
Stratios Warlord is better.
Getting that one turn up on or that one dark power tier up, and then having access to 4 on a pivotal turn. It's done a lot for Old Dominion, and initially I didn't think it was that strong, but after playing into good Old Dominion players, it is actually that good.
Well, it's the free reform turn more than anything else.
Really? Yeah, there have been times where people have gone to dark power tier 3 with the Curies and just been like, blah!
I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, that helps a lot, but that free reform is just so fucking scary.
It's a massive.
It's part of why
yeah.
It's why initiative is so. It's why the Imperial bonus in 100K is so good. That's such a strong turn. But you're right. It's all of a piece. But in any case, it's kind of funny because I remember kind of mocking some poor bastard at Akon. The lot of us, we didn't mock him in his face, but we joked about it afterwards because he was like, I didn't really care for the Archimandrite Warlord. I thought the Stratios was better. We were all including Ben, we were all oh, what the fuck is this guy talking about? But it turns out that dude may have been onto something. But in any case,
okay. But here's the thing. Before October, Ray was never a real pick for Dwag. And then he got that update to be his ability works even if he's dead or not on the table, and his stock shot up immensely. Sometimes a change happens in a faction, or other things change on other factions, and stuff that we're not really considered before, the stock rises up and you start playing it. Sure, he could have been onto something, but right now. You pardon? Sorry.
I'm gonna be 100% honest with you about something right now.
Okay.
This is me admitting things to all the fellow Dwaggies out there. But the main reason I personally was down on Reg Supremacy for a long time was that I hate the flavor and play of it. And that's still kind of true. The changes since then, where it's always on regardless of whether he's on the field, and most notably, slightly cheaper Zerkers, and kind of sort of Warriors gaining Vanguard because that was a big upgrade for them. Although that's the least important of them. Those things kind of make Raygoons what it is today. But if I were not such a stubborn bastard and was much more about winning at all costs, then I would have been playing Reg Supremacy. I would have swallowed that pill. Even then. Because just light score, because Zerkers were only 170 points. They got a 10-point reduction. And they were still
free
good.
Banner.
It came with free banner, and it came at the cost of R4. It came at the cost of R4. But I would absolutely I would have run it took me a long time to get on the MSU train with Dreg. And I absolutely would have run that list if I were a wiser man. So in that vein, I do think because OD hasn't the main OD change was that AOD made Bone Golems a little bit tougher to take, and they're still good. I still think you could take Bone Golems.
Oh my god, I think Saskatoon Jeff, he was telling me a story of where he had one Bone Golem alive doing Aura of Death 11 into 2 regiments and just burning them to death, and they couldn't kill this one Bone Golem, and he's just Aura of Death 11 punch. And the shit was dying all around him. And it was what the fuck? Yeah. Bone Golems are still good.
Yeah. So, not enough has changed to, justify where those opinions were at the time. But in any case,
but then again, all shit tickets were very powerful, and a lot of people were losing to shit tickets, and it, Dwag needed to change because a lot of other things were changing, and, Dwag Castle was not keeping up. It's still
even
good.
at the time,
yeah, but it was still good at the time.
It was still good.
I'm thinking Adepticon. I'm thinking Adepticon.
No, I understand.
It was still good.
It's still good. I still think that Ardent Kara Zerkers with double Hellbringer is still a solid list. You could probably take top table with that list. but it's not what it used to be, and it was already starting to show signs of weakness at the time. But that's all. All that being said, like that's out of the way. He was running. So he was running 3 Legionnaires. Because this is already going to go on too long. He was running 3 Legionnaires. He was running double Affinity, double Mori, one Kyrie's block of 5, and the Praetorian block. Like the only difference I think from fucking Steve's version and Carl's version is there's no Caryatids in there, and I'm not entirely sure what he replaced them with. I don't quite know Carl's list off the top of my head, but like, yeah, triple Legionnaire, 1 Cultist with the Hyro, Archy Warlord, Praetorians with the Praetorian Guard brick, and double Affinity and the Ghosts. So, it's Ghosts with a couple of variations. This one, they had the fucking giant as Longship, Nord Longship. And the scenario was Forlorn Hope, so you have like the 2 zones on each player's side.
Yeah,
and then the 2 neutral markers.
Yeah.
And you can't side deploy, exactly. So like, and then the fucking Longship was like, so if you picture the 2 markers in the middle, one on each on the player side of the board, the Longship was kind of like almost reaching between my table edge and my marker, the marker on my side, like almost but not quite, and then angled off to the right. So like it just completely split the 2 sides of the board. Like this giant ass piece was just right in the middle of the field. So you had like 2/3 of the table on the left and then 1/3 on the right. Those were the 2 theaters of the battle. It was absurd. So what he ended up doing, his big mistake that game. He made a bunch of like minor inefficient plays. But his big mistake that game was that he decided to just completely commit down the side of the board that was just like 1/3 of the table on that side of the Longship. So when he sent the Kyries, he sent because the Moroi went on each wing. He sent the Kyries down that side, and then he followed it up with the Archimandrite Legionnaires, regular Legionnaire MSU, and the fucking Praetorian Guard.
Are they sitting in a Congo line? Like, what the fuck?
Almost. Like, all but. Like, the only thing that was off that Congo line was the fucking Mori. Everything else was almost in, like, one straight line going right down that fucking...
The minion centipede is just coming out of the table edge. You're like, oh, no.
Yeah, it was as bad as the movie. So, and yeah, then he had the cultist stayed on his side of the table to clean up his marker, and he basically, I think, was more or less hoping that the Mori followed up with the late Athatui reinforcements, and another Legionnaire would be enough to hold the left side, or my left side. So I played it very coy, as I have to in the Ghosts, and kept everything well outside of Mori fuck around range. Same thing with the Kyries. Mm-hmm. And so turn 2 comes and passes. I bring the Chosen up on the left-hand side, because I'm kind of, at this point, because he's dropped the Kyries down to one side at this point. So I'm kind of thinking, I'm looking at the board, and I'm like, all right, well, there's, the hindering is less problematic on the smaller side of the Longship, like the 1/3 side of the board. So I'm probably going to put at least 1 Thunder down there. I'm thinking about the horns.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But then like by the end of 2. So I'm thinking about like a Thunder there and a Thunder on the other side, so the Kako on the left-hand side. Because there's more room to roll them around and for them to actually like kind of get value out of triple action. But then like by the end of 2, again, he starts that fucking Congo line. I'm like, okay, well, I guess we're just gonna play like we're going to play something of a refused flank here, where I'm going to let this Congo line happen, but I'm going to have fucking double Thunders waiting for it all to come through, and some Hunting Pack here to help tie things up and let these Thunder Riders start rolling through. And then everything else is going to go down the left. The Raptors started jinking back and forth, like one unit was like on the kind of towards the right of the Longship, and then it jinked over to the left to dodge the Kyries on turn 2 or 3 or whatever, but eventually it ended up jinking right back because fluid formation is a really good rule, and just like slaughtering the shit out of the Kyries because he pushed them up pretty far.
Oh, poor guys.
But yeah, eventually, I think it was like turn 3 or turn 4, might have been turn 3. he had reached a little too far forward with his Mori where the Chosen were, so the Chosen were like, okay, triple action, smashed them into smoke, and took them out in one turn. So that was very bad for him. And then one of the hunting packs showed up very late, and they basically reinforced behind the other Mori, and ended up chewing the shit out of them down to one stand, and cleaning up eventually after that. So he started to kind of like push down with the Kiris and the Legionnaires and everything. And like the Kiris got a spell off to take a stand off of my Thunder Chieftain unit. But again, the Raptor Riders kind of just turned back around and fucking started slaughtering that. And then once both the Mori were taken care of and so much damage had been done to the Kiris, I was like, okay, the Thunder Riders over here could probably handle the fucking Praetorians and the Archimandrite behind it. Like I've got enough stuff over there. So the Quaddle and the Apex Predator and everything else could start wreaking havoc on his other side that he has not deployed nearly enough stuff to, especially with Affinity showing up so late. Mm-hmm. He tried to... Part of his inefficiencies were that he was pushing forward pretty hard, but he did not realize, like, he pushed off one of his zones to try and deny my closer zone that turn, because I had, like, my Apex sitting on it. And Legionnaires get the extra objective, or seizing stance for their moo. So he like tried to march off his zone to deny my zone, because he was thinking he'd be able to follow it up with the Affinity, but I think it was like the 6-inch zone that they had marched off of that was on his side, and the Affinity couldn't actually reach that on one march onto the board. And then when he did that, I was like, okay, well the Quaddle reinforces claims that zone anyway. So like he marched off his zone to deny me that, but like failed to keep his zone, and then I just scored it anyway. So that was not great for him. But yeah, the Chosen just started to run rampant over there. There were Raptors and fucking the Apex Predator and everything. Like the Fantasy are great, but they can't handle all that shit. And eventually the Praetorians made one last effort to bring down the Raptor Riders and hold the other side of the board, but they got charged in the front and charged in the flank from both Thunder Riders. They might grind down one Thunder Rider unit, but they are not handling two, as we learned there. So,
like Praetorians, you have to get 2 units on, and especially one in the flank. You can't fight them from the front. Like that's not the game plan even remotely.
Most units, anyway. Most units do not want that fight. Some other blocks can probably grind that out, but the Thunder Riders are not one of those units. They want to hammer and anvil something. So. Yeah, that game ended. Both these games so far have ended like 70 something to like 12 or some shit like that. So, but yeah, Bob was a great player, great dude. He completely understood what happened to him. He said that he had never played Wandering before, so that was clearly one of the problems here.
Yeah,
I warned him multiple times that chosen triple action. He was like, yeah, okay, and then he still moved the Mori that close. I was like, all right, you got it, brother. So, but yeah. Round 2. Nice.
I'm well done. The conga line is very funny though.
Yeah, that was, and the part of what kind of made me sad about that fight was that he had the early scoring lead. Like he scored both zones on turn 2 because his Legionnaires had Vanguard. They had the Aptios. So like he literally could have just taken that early scoring lead and then just sat there for the rest of the game.
Yeah. So here's
just like.
So I'm gonna say something about that. Like, you taking an early score advantage is great because it'll like lead to a victory. But also like understanding that, I've scored a turn ahead of my opponent. The play here is to sit here with my 4-point lead and just stay the same with my opponent and never let them take a zone. Like, you usually want to like kind of push your opponent out. And it takes a lot of knowledge and understanding of the game to realize that your best strategy is actually just to sit with that 4-point lead. Because a 4-point swing isn't that much for your opponent to crawl back. Like, if they, at turn 9, push you off and then score enough, they can, like, tie it up or take it, kind of thing. So, you gotta, like, to understand that's your, like, key to victory is very hard for a lot of players to, like, recognize, especially so early in a game. Like, that's how you're gonna win. Usually around, I want to say, turn 6, especially, like, for myself, if I'm behind or I'm, like, looking for a win, I usually start calculating it around turn 6 because, like, I've already seen the shape of the battle of what our position is and what's kind of going on, to then do the point counting to calculate what I actually need to do to win, or if I just need to hold on to whatever I already have.
Yep, and I genuinely think part of what helps with that is making sure, like, part of this is you play the game out all the time.
Yeah,
Is
go
really
to
what I'm
10.
getting at, and like go to 10, and part of like going to 10 is playing conservatively with your stuff, so that you can actually like reach 10, turn 10.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of like if you're playing conservatively and the dice are swinging badly for you, well, the longer you play, the more you give yourself time for the dice to swing back. And when you go to 10, you start seeing like, okay, you start seeing those places where like when you play that longer game, you can find those places where it's like, okay, well, if I just get this early scoring here, then like I can find ways where playing to 10 they can't ever get back, or if it's the other way around, I can find ways where I can come back in the later game. So yeah, that's all very important. Play to 10, you fox. It'll be good for you.
Yeah, I do agree. So congratulations on your round 2 win. Let's go to round 3. Who were you playing? What were you playing on? How was the table? All that stuff.
Round 3 was Chuck.
oh, that must have been fun.
That was a fated fight. Like we all knew that one of us was going to eat it round 3. But I'll let me walk that back. Like obviously round 3 and onward was just going to be very tough, no matter how it goes. But like someone was going to eat that particular matchup in particular. It was either going to be one of us, like one of us runs into Chuck or one of us runs into Carl, and vice. Obviously Carl runs into. You know what I mean. So I rolled that particular matchup, and we were talking about really awful fucking terrain.
Oh no!
And so to understand why this terrain setup is particularly bad, you need to understand Chuck's list first. And Chuck was playing clock lights, and in my report, I refer to them as Chuck lights, and I'm going to do the same thing here.
Okay.
Because A, it's funny, and B, I don't think clock lights are very good, but Chuck lights, on the other hand, are very good. So they deserve the distinction. But he had 3 blocks of the fucking things. A 4-man with the Mechanist hanging out, and then 2 5-mans.
Oh wow, that's quite a lot of Chuckalites.
It's quite a bit of Chuck, and he had a Aristarch hanging out with some Theracides. He had a Polemarch hanging out with Sacred Band MSU.
Okay.
He had a single Chariot and a unit of Hoplites with like an MSU of Hoplites plus a Haspist auxiliary, and I'm pretty sure that was the entire list. So, not a
yeah, it's not a lot.
Not a lot, but it's Chuck, and it's the Mechanist Warlord, so that makes all the clock lights or Chuck lights, mediums. Which is like if you're going to run Chuck lights in any capacity, you have to. You have to take that.
I'm not gonna lie, I feel like there's only one unit of heavy infantry in the game that should be coming on, or like has the opportunity to come on. No, I should rephrase this. I think there's 2 heavy infantry units in the game that are not detriments to you coming on turn 3. Chuckalites need to be coming on as mediums, not as heavies.
Yeah, and this is why I get a little apoplectic whenever Dwight Chat starts talking about reg supremacy making Thanes mediums.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no, that is not where you want that unit's balance to come from. Look at fucking clock lights.
Well, things
and you will understand why that's bad design.
Yeah, like they used to be mediums back in like 1.5 or right before
1.5. That was the reg supremacy was to do that. But like with the problem that you come into is that if your supremacy is to make the heavies mediums, then inherently your heavies are probably going to be bad as heavies because otherwise they'd be ridiculously too strong as mediums. So
like you're sacrificing a supremacy for your units to function properly. That's what it says.
Exactly.
Make unit work, and like don't get supremacy.
And don't get me wrong, like clock lights are a really strong medium. Like they're a little overtuned as a medium. But to burn a supremacy on that is just not That's not good. That's not good in my opinion. So I'm a big anti like buff specific units with your supremacy guy. Like I don't think like +1 shock to all speakers units. That's all speakers units. So you have a lot of play and room and wiggle room there.
It's
specifically buffing one unit, not good.
Yeah, like when it's something very specific, it's just like no, this is bad. Like you're wasting a supremacy slot. I do agree with you.
So but as I said, these are Chuck lights, and Chuck lights don't fuck around. So he had all that list, and so when you look at the terrain on the board, this was off balance. So you have the one zone that's entirely very close to one flank, another zone that's kind of closer to the center, but still a little off center, and then the 4 markers that are in kind of like as though they're in an arrow pointing to the far zone. One of those giant fucking 12x12 impassables was sitting next to the very far zone on the one flank on the inside of the field. So it basically cut off that zone from the rest of the fucking table. And again, Chuck is playing. He's playing Chuck lights, and I'm playing fucking Thunder, which means that he gets to just drop a unit of Chuck lights, maybe 2, but probably just the one, like the unit of Chuck lights and like probably the hoplites MSU. Which guess what? That's exactly what he does. Right down into the middle of that fucking thing, and just set up the fucking hot gates, and like literally the hot gates, and I was like, is this the Chuck luck fucking striking me already right out of the gate? Like, is that what I'm looking at right now? Like this is
you're William Dafoe at this moment, looking up. Oh fuck!
Yeah, exactly. Like this is fucking god awful. So that's what I was looking at. But you know. Clearly, I figured it out. So the game, he moved the Thracides, I think, unnecessarily a little far forward, and I think he also actually ended up playing the hot gates a little bit wrong. So what happened was, so I sent the Raptors up the middle as usual. Hunting packs on each wing. I sent the hunting pack I sent one hunting pack to the hot gates because their sole purpose was going to be a screen for the Thunder Riders to eventually finish through with the charge clash. That was the hope, anyway. So he brings his Thracides on. Now he's got the standard elaceration on the Aristarch, and what he's thinking, Chuck's brain is always, how do I squeeze every last drop of value out of my scoring? Essentially, what is my risk benefit analysis here for each zone? And in Chuck's brain, he's thinking that these Thracides, just like holding the zone a little while and maybe baiting in some over aggression, will allow his other units to like move back in and start the grind. And maintain the zone longer than I expected him to, because again, laceration, like even if that blows up, like he holds it for another turn past that, which is a fair assessment. But I genuinely think laceration's better as the final thing dying on a zone, because at that point the opponent will have expended so much to fucking claim it, that if it does go down, then that last gasp of like could potentially be double scoring or at least extra scoring will probably like tilt the game in your favor, in my opinion. Anyway.
Give you a little more extra points, stall your opponent, like all that stuff. Especially at the end, if you're close, that adds up. It matters.
Yeah, especially because like he's got clock lights as the anvil, and like Thracides, like the fucking Aristarch and the Thyrian in there, like they're a really good hammer. So. I think that makes better use of them. But in any case, he moved them up a little bit far, so the Chosen did what Chosen do, and they fucking march charge clashed. And they didn't quite blow them up in one turn, but they came very, very close. And I had to finish them off with some free volleys from like the Raptors and the Apex Predator when it moved on and everything. At the end of 3. But I did basically end up trading the Chosen for that. His Sacred Band. First of all, the Thracides, like the Aristarch and the Command Stand, like the only things that were left, like almost kill 2 stands of Chosen by themselves. I was like, what the fuck is this? So that was crazy dice. And then the chariot shot the shit out of them. And I don't think the Sacred Band ever ended up crashing into them. They might have finished them off, but yeah. So and then the chariot, because again Chuck just like gets ridiculous value out of all of his units. I had something of a conga line this time, where I had like the Raptors and then or a Raptor unit, and then there were Hunting Pack right behind that, and then there was an Apex behind that, and then the Thunder Riders off to the side, because there was another impassable piece that was blocking off like the other side of the board, like the other left flank. So everything was forced into the middle, and then that the fucking hotgates over there. Like this is what I'm talking about with the terrain on this. Like it could just completely shut off like the flanks in this fucking. It was awful. In any case, so they were all funneled down that side. So Chuck fucking cleans up the Chosen with the chariot, and then charges the Raptor Riders right in front. And now I'm like, well, fuck. Now these Raptors, like, they come close, but they don't really guarantee a kill on the chariot with the Inspire Clash. Even with Flurry, because like with Flurry on 3s, they do, I think it's like, was it 16 attacks? So yeah, like 12 hits.
Still really
so
good,
Chariot takes.
Yeah.
It's still really good, but Chariot takes 6 and then takes another 3 off resolve, and then lives on a wound. Yeah. So odds are the thing lives, and that slows me down for a whole turn. So I was like,
Chariots are so good. So good.
So.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like Chariots are kind of the perfect medium.
Chariots are incredible. They're really, really fucking good. They're just like this is why we always said that flank was their main problem, because like they're a little too good at every one little thing. Like they're a little tougher than you expect them to be. They do a little more damage than you expect them to do. But really, what kills them and puts them over the top is that they're just complete fucking reinforcement guarantee. Like that's just, it's okay for them to be good at all the other things, but like that's a little bit much. But in any case, and Cleave 1 chant doesn't even help me there, because the thing's fucking hard in 1.
Yeah, because fuck you. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. So I had to clash. I had to clash it and then withdraw the Raptors, and the Raptors fucking exploded on the withdraw. So the amount of value that fucking Chariot got was disgusting, to say the least. But however, that play did allow the Hunting Pack to swing past the Chariots and like all but kill the Sacred Band. And then the Chariot was picked up by the Apex behind it. So I got to still move through for a turn. I remember Yanni like watching the Raptor Riders blow up, and he was like, "That's really bad." I was like, "Yeah, but we're still kind of okay."
Yeah, the Chariot is 130 points.
Yep, that thing fucking took out like I think at least a stand's worth of Chosen, and then an entire Raptor unit.
So I'm pretty sure the Chariot did receive a bunch of nerfs and a point increase, especially the Scorpios, because I think it was 120 before, and the Flogging Gun was like 130. So now they're the same cost, but also I know like it's Barrage 8 instead of Barrage 10, and Range 14 instead of 16. So like the Chariots have gone down.
Yeah,
still
they're
really good.
Closer now.
Still, phenomenally good.
They still do so much for City States, but yeah. So
all
that
always
happens.
aiming. So yeah, it's always volley 3.
Yeah, correct.
Fuck these things.
All that happened. But like I said, I was still kind of feeling good about the position, because like, the Thracides blew up. The Chariot was gone, and so now like the question was just like, can I kill these 2 units of clock lights that he committed to the middle, and then how is it going to look on the other side, where he had literally perfectly wedged the clock light, the one clock light or chuck light he put there. I already broke my own thing, goddammit. The one chuck light he put there, and he wedged the fucking hop light in a 2x2 little brick right next to it between the goddamn table edge and that fucking terrain piece. So literally hotgates. But I committed the Quaddle kind of like opposite of the terrain piece, because I didn't know if I wanted it to go handle the hotgates or help handle the hotgates, or if I needed to swing it back towards the center of the board. Ended up going towards the hotgates, because I think one of Chuck's other mistakes was that he broke his Thermopylae setup unnecessarily. Because I moved the Hunting Pack up and moved them at an angle such that if he attacked them, then the Thunder Riders would hit him in the flank. But
like
Chuck kind of
like
I should.
It's good play, good job.
But Chuck He answered it by I can't remember if he I think he might have I think he charged them and combat reform, or rather, he probably reformed and charged them such that that was actually not as good a charge for me anymore because I couldn't quite angle them around the honey pack in a really smooth way.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have forced a March charge instead of the charge class that turn. But it did open up the Hoplite MSU nearby, so I was like, okay, well, if I kill the Hoplite MSU, or the 4-man Hoplite, then that Chucklight is fighting by itself for the rest of the game. And I think I can win that fight. So that's why I did the Quaddle. The one time I actually got the fucking death from above thing from the Quaddle. Funny enough, was in the Chuck game because it flew over the clock lights, or the Chuck lights, did some damage to him, and then went right into the flank of the Hoplites and did some more damage. And then I just sent the Thunder Rider unit with the Chieftain screaming right at that Hoplite unit and finished it off. That said, I almost made a mistake that could have cost me that flank right afterwards because I turned the Quaddle around right afterwards and charged the flank charged the rear of the Chuck lights. But that basically reduced the frontage that my Thunder Riders had to actually get into that fight. So the Chuck lights just destroyed the honey pack and then turned around and put a fuck ton of wounds on the Quaddle. And then my Thunder Riders could only get 2 stands in. So I was like, why did I do that? So that looked bad for a second. But they actually ended up winning and grinding out that fight miraculously. I'm still not quite sure how that happened because that was not the best fight, but fucking line breaker is a really good rule. So that was as much as I was going to get through on the Chuck lights because he was getting his hardened 2 up everywhere where he needed. He got it up for when they actually landed the charge and all that sort of shit. But line breaker does good work at the shield, obviously.
I'm really impressed by Chuck because he's kind of getting up there in age, and if he's getting his hardened up, he's doing a really good job.
Yeah, like I said, every last bit of value that man believes in, and value is the same letter as Viagra, and that's the association. That's the association I'm going to make there. But yeah, so they miraculously actually ended up winning that fucking fight, which again, Chuck lights are not actually that good. They're good mediums, but they're not game ending. And then in the middle of the board, the Chosen that were going to die anyway. This was, I think, his other mistake. The Chosen that were going to die anyway. He charged it to he march charged the flank of them with his Mechanist block, but that just opened up the Raptors to flank them and do more damage than they should have done over a couple of turns. So I think his center ended up collapsing faster than it should have because of that. Because the Raptors ended up dying, the Hunting Pack died. The only thing that I had left in the center at that point were the Chosen were dead. So all I had left was the Apex Predator and the Thunder Rider MSU. But they had chewed the ever-loving shit out of those Chuck lights. So he only had a stand of that and the Mechanist, and then 5 Chuck lights left. So the Thunder Rider just kind of flew past, took out one of the markers on the far side. The Apex and the Hunting Pack got into kind of a footsie thing with the Chuck lights. The Hunting Pack died as a screen. And then the Apex, Chuck rolled 5 6s into the Apex, so he lost 2 way more fucking Chuck lights than he should have. And then the Thunder Riders, because Juggernaut's a really good rule, they just reformed and charged 11-inch charge into the Chuck lights from killing the marker, and his stuff just collapsed faster than it needed to. So even though Standard of Last Duration got him some value and got him a double cap, because the Thracides died for very little other than that kind of standard value, I think he just he just didn't have the what he needed to grind out the game from there. Especially because the Hot Gates flank went worse for him than I think either of us expected. So yeah, Chuck's a fucking incredible player, as we all know. He just shows up with fucking what look like random jank lists, and they kind of are, but they always have Chuck logic behind them. And that was a good game. Chuck's the man.
Nice.
Great guy.
I'm glad that you did 3 out of your 6 rounds already. Good job.
5 rounds. We're almost done.
Oh, it was 5 rounds? I thought it was 6 on this one, because you had
Nope.
Did you only have 24 players, or how many players were there?
I think we ended up at 28.
Oh, that's pretty good. Okay, I think 32 constitutes 6 rounds.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah, not bad at all. All right. You're doing strong. Round 4. Who'd you have to deal with? What was their whole stick? What were they up to?
I played Peter. And Peter was playing...
I know this man. I've seen him before.
You do know this man. Seraph PK on the Discord there. He was playing not Carl Nords.
Oh, okay.
Basically. Whereas Carl Nords is Raiders featuring a bunch of other chumps. Peter's is a little more balanced than that. I think somewhat to its detriment. Like, it's still a viable list, but it's not. It's just not quite as pure, and so it's not as strong, in my opinion. But
you need to refine for more Carl.
Need that.
You need to break this down and get more Carl in it.
you gotta get Carl with it.
We gotta hold him down and bring out more Carl into this.
Jesus.
Can you imagine if we held Carl down and just kind of like twisted him like a sponge?
I don't really want to know what comes out of that. That doesn't sound good to me.
All his knowledge. Nothing else bad could ever happen.
Nothing at all.
Nothing, I swear.
So, he had three... moving on, he had three Raider MSUs.
Okay.
Where'd this guy go? Three Raider MSUs, obviously. Huh?
You still
yeah, I'm still playing more.
Oh, thank goodness. Did you ever...
I've mostly just been like training acrobatics. Like I've just been fucking jumping around and
not doing
anything.
That's what you do.
Yeah,
I had to stop because my clicking is too much.
I think the people could have dealt with it personally, but whatever.
I need to change the mic from sitting on my desk to mounting an arm on the wall to have it like above me, and then have noise canceling, like a proper setup, because it's literally just a mic on my desk.
I mean, what? But I don't know. If we're going to get a headset.
Yeah, well, I found the issue with the headset is that the mic quality isn't that great.
Yeah, it always sucks. Mine sucks. Everybody right now is probably like, yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, you're fine.
All right. So what the fuck was I saying?
You're playing into Peter. He's got 3 Raiders.
Oh, that's right.
I am paying attention to you.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. He's playing Captain Raiders, obviously, because that's the only way to play fucking Raiders.
Yeah, they're 20 points for Raiders? 130? How much are Raiders these days?
I think, Captain now is 20 points, so they're 140?
Yeah, no.
I think?
Yeah, that's
Captain?
That's the Raider cost, 140.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, okay. So, he's got that. The vulva is hanging out in one of those MSUs. And then he's got... Well, I'm sorry, buddy. I didn't mean to disturb you. I disturbed my dog. He's got... he lays by my chair, and then I roll the chair slightly, and he's like, oh god, I'm going to get run over.
My dog used to do that when I lived with my parents. She would sit behind my father's chair, and then he would roll backwards and hit her paws, and she'd be like, and then off, and he'd be like, oh. But then she finally realized, because her whole stick was that she wanted to look at him. She would come over to my desk, and I had the side desk, and she would go under there and lay down and still look at him and be under. I don't know what her whole stick was of being under stuff, but she'd be there, and then I would just go pet her with my feet.
Oh, dogs! They're such fun.
They are really fun.
In any case, yes. So he's got the 3 Raider MSUs. He's got a block of trolls. That's the big difference. He's running blooded with a block of trolls. Which I'm going to come out and say I don't think the troll block is very good. I don't think it's good in any iteration. I think you're always pretty much better off taking trolls as MSUs.
Yeah. Troll block is just a waste of points, and it just allows it to be that is now a target. I'm going to put something actually available to kill it, to blow it up, and you're not going to get your value back. While as an MSU, players will not necessarily disregard it, but won't put in as much work as they should to get rid of it, allowing it to survive and be effective. Yeah,
it's just the value proposition of the amount of force that it takes to kill an MSU. You don't mind throwing a huge amount of force into the block because the point cost warrants it.
Yeah.
But you just get less value out of the regeneration into bigger things, whereas the amount of value you want to put into an MSU, the regen is going to counter it so much harder. It's a better proposition of value in another case. But All that said, that's neither here nor there. So he's got the Troll block, and then he's got the Valk block with a second Volva. And then he's running the double Bearzark. Now, Peter made a mistake of putting the Jarl into the 3-man Bearzark, and then the 4-man Bearzark was by itself. And that 4-man Bearzark is just break Shatterbait. I am pretty much against 4-man stands of like anything in the game. Like, I know there's arguments like, you know, like some ranged units should never, like, if they're going to get tapped in combat, then they should be, they're going to die anyway, you know, that sort of thing. But like,
yeah, but then you're getting more shots effectiveness out of it, so it's not as bad. But melee, things that are going to be like fighting in melee shouldn't be 4 stands.
well, not only that, but it's not the only, like, you have to think of the total trade-off in the fucking list. Like, the fucking 40, 50, 60 points that went to that 4-man stand could have, like, beefed up an actual good block, or with some rejiggering of points, like, could have led to another MSU of something. You know what I mean? Like a whole other card. Like, there's just better ways to spend those points, almost, like, 99% of the time.
Yep.
So, but in any case, yeah, that was the list. Just some Raiders. I'm pretty sure that was the whole list. I don't think there was anything else to that. Just the Raiders, the Troll block, Valk block, and the 2 Bearzarks. So Peter this time got fucked by the terrain because
as Nords too. Wow.
As Nords, because there were impassable pieces on each corner of the field, like all 4 corners.
What the fuck?
But because the terrain wasn't symmetrical, I was able to get around the flanks of mine, but he could not get around his. At least not as a 3-wide.
I feel you call a judge at that point, because you're supposed to kind of get around it between table edge and a 3-wide. Like, it's supposed to be 8 or 9 inches away. I have to relook at the rules, but, like, I'm pretty sure that's in there.
I mean, the judges placed the terrain.
Yeah, who was the judge? Was it Giannis?
It was Yanni, and it was
you get the belt.
Store guy.
You get the belt for Yanni.
you get the belt.
Yeah, back.
So, like, and like, if I remember right, I think we like asked them like to like if something was. I might be confusing this with another game, but like, you're probably right. Like, we probably should have asked for another judge, but it didn't occur to us at the time. So
no, because you just show up to the table. You want, like, oh hey buddy, let's play a game. Let's have some fun. Let's get this underway. You don't really like before you start putting regiments down, I find, like, the moment I look at the table to, like, make a decision, because I just usually just show up and play whatever side I get, because I just don't care. But I don't really start looking at terrain until I'm actually, like, I've rolled my dice for my deployment and what's coming on, because that's when it's going to matter, and then I kind of, like, make my plan for the next 2 or 3 turns of how I'm going to deploy this, and then seeing what my opponent does. And you don't realize, like, when it's bad until it starts being bad. Because a lot of the times you're like, you'll eyeball something and be like, that's like 6 inches. I can do 2 wide in there. And then you realize, no, that's bad. Like, stop kidding yourself.
Yeah.
Like, there's been times where, like, terrain's been 6 inches away from a table edge would allow 2 stands to move through. But it's like, no, this is just stupid and bad.
Yeah, like, and PSA to everyone listening out there that's still for some fucking reason listening at this point in this thing. Good
job on making it this far. Don't worry,
yeah,
Brian has to play Carl. We're getting there.
We're getting there. Thank you for listening to us for this long. If you don't have a symmetrical board, roll for sides. That's in the rules. You might as well do it if you're at a tournament. Roll for sides, because this shit matters. Now, that being said, I do think Peter could have played around it better than he did, and make it less of a problem for himself. But it was like Nords was forced more to the centers than Nords ever wants to be forced. So that did have an effect here. But in any case, this one was... the hell's the name of this one? This is the one where I think you and I played this recently. It's the 3 zone. Is it 3 zones? No, it's the zones on each flank of the middle.
Oh,
and then there's 3 markers, and there's an enemy marker on the one flank, an allied marker on the other flank, and then the up for grabs one in the middle. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head right now.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They all look the same to me.
Fair enough. But yeah, so he. I made a couple of mistakes this game that he had. One of them he had a chance to punish. The other one he did straight up punish.
Oh yeah.
We're
gonna call you
but as always,
Brian going forward.
Punished Brian. Call me furtive Brian, but he Dark Souls reference, but he as always in Conquest, he or whoever makes the bigger mistakes ends up losing. So
yeah, it's usually how any of these strategy games go.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. So he sent the Volvo Raiders and a Raider MSU down towards his allied marker, so the one I needed to kill. And then he sent a single Raider MSU at my allied marker, so the one that he needed to kill. So we split the flanks that way.
Okay.
I put 2 Raptors up the middle and Honey Pack down each side. I think one of them reinforced late. I think one of them showed up on turn. Actually, they might have both reinforced late now that I think about it. As a matter of fact, I don't think I rolled the Honey Packs on turn 1 in any game until Carl's game. Now that I think about it. But in any case, Raptors took down the center marker because free volleys are really good. Excuse me. And he made the same mistake that Levi made in round 1, where he put the Raiders down into my allied marker. He charged them right in there. It just committed them to that grind. Now, it's less bad for Raiders because Raiders have impacts. And on average, they should deal a wound to that marker off an impact. I don't remember if his did, but it's not going to end up mattering.
Hold on.
Because
Raiders have 2 impacts each. Yes, they should deal at least 1. I do agree with you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because 2 land, and then the marker should fail one of those 2. But he does that, and then the Honey Pack who show up on turn 2 are like, okay, I Vanguard right into their flank.
Yeah, as you should, because they're stuck there, and they can't do anything to save themselves.
Exactly. So that was a colossal mistake on his part for the first one, especially because he couldn't really save that flank very well, because again his flanks were cut off. I think that was one of his mistakes. I think he should have actually committed 2 Raider MSUs to that side, because one of them can actually squeeze by that terrain piece as a 2 wide, and then charge the marker, and then the other one charge clashes the marker, and he actually kills it in 1 turn that way. So I think that was one mistake there. So yeah, that happens. I bring up the Apex and the Chosen went to that side too. To handle the Valkyrie. Chosen. To basically completely dominate that zone from that point onward and start the windshield wipe from that side, and to handle the Valkyries that are showing up there as well. On the other side of the field, this is where I start making a mistake, because I take on the middle marker, and then instead of backing up the Raptors, I think I backed up one of them, and then the other one I shuffled to the right to start volleying the marker there. But his Raiders, or one of his Raiders MSUs, was just moved right up behind that marker, well within charge clash range of those Raptors. And Raiders probably break Raptors on a charge clash. So that was a big mistake on my part for exposing the Raptors for no fucking reason. Not game-endingly so, but still bad. So next turn comes around.
I get it.
It's 130. It's 130 points for 180.
Yeah, there's times where it's do I really need to do this? Am I really getting advantage? No. I shouldn't do this because my opponent could just punish me for it, or get something for free and not actually have to work for it. I don't know. There's times where you just not times, but every time your opponent takes a piece, you want them to bleed for it.
Yeah, 100%. Funny. So, but I was not punished for that mistake, because even though it was a 3-up rerollable, he failed it.
Oh,
and those Raiders broke into the marker.
No,
they broke on the marker. Yeah, so that was
that's bad.
Yeah, that was very, very sad for him. So unpunished. I am the greatest player.
Well, I was gonna get a Metal Gear reference with punished Brian.
Yeah,
or Kojima reference. I forget what game it was, punished, but it's been forever since I've played anything Metal Gear related.
I've never played anything Metal Gear related.
Man, you're a power stronger than Metal Gear.
Oh yes. Call me Liquid Snake. I don't. That's the one thing I know how to reference them. In any case, yeah, exactly. So the hunting pack going down the one flank. He follows up that raider MSU that broke on the marker with the blooded block. And the Volva with the other raider MSU is kind of just chilling behind all of this to chuck around some spells, and then he throws the Berserks right down the middle, both units of Berserks.
Yay.
One of my Raptors just like reaches out, breaks the 4-man Berserk on the charge clash, and then shatters it the next turn on a regular clash, and then chucks some shots into the other. So yeah, don't run 4-stand.
Wow.
Units.
Okay. Nice job.
Yeah. So that happens. They end up dying to the Jarl Berserks, which like they did their trade, so that's fine. The Valkyries end up swinging around, helping those other Berserks finish down those Raptors. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to keep doing that from here on out. Forgive me. Them doing that is where my other mistake comes in, because then I kind of just like get flippant with the Thunder Riders and send them into the marker to finish it off on like the other flank of the field. But the Valkyries then have range to charge those in the flank. Somehow they don't kill the Thunder Riders in the flank. Like I'm really not sure how that happened, but they do break them and bring them down to 1 stand. So I nearly lost my Warlord for that play. But at that point, like, it would not have mattered because he did not get a scoring advantage, and he was never taking the other flank from me. And I was already grinding down and had the advantage on the markers. So the game was basically already run at this point. The hunting pack on my right... Oh, I almost forgot to mention. The Raiders that broke on the marker, the next turn, they tried to fucking roll again. At this point, those Raptors had backed up a little bit. They fucking failed it a second time.
Did they break on the marker a second time, though? Or what?
They broke on the marker a second time.
Oh my god, no, that's the
yeah, that was
that's a like here, just take this regiment. I don't fucking care anymore. They have failed.
Yeah.
We're just melting these guys down.
Yeah, the hunting pack on that side put them out of their misery. The trolls turned around to finish those hunting pack off, and then got ground down by the Quaddle and the Thunder Riders waiting for them over there. So yeah, all he had left at that point were Valkyries chilling in the middle of a board that was slowly getting collapsed in on. I forget exactly how I killed the remaining Berserk unit. I think they just took a bunch of volleys from all the surrounding units and eventually went down. Yeah, that was not a great game for Peter.
Sounds like ass.
Obviously. Yeah, obviously the Raiders failing that charge was very sad for him and kind of just like started the cascade. But like I said, I think the initial deployments were bad, and then like he just lost an entire flank because he committed those Raiders way too early. So yeah, and then turning the Valkyries in, like yeah, it helped him like shore up his middle, but like that entire flank is gone then, and he just loses the scoring game from here on out. So yeah, that was round 4.
Damn. Well, congratulations on your win. So sorry, Peter.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry, Peter.
Sorry, Peter.
Peter's an awesome guy.
No,
I
he's
enjoyed
great.
Joking and laughing with him the whole game, and
yeah.
Hopefully you learned a thing or two.
I'm glad. So now that you have done all 4 rounds, and now you have to go fight Carl the Dread.
Carl the Dread.
There were many stories of his
Carl.
reputation was already beating opponents before he even got to them. His hockey was too strong.
His round 1, for posterity's sake, because I was next to that table.
Okay.
And that guy, like, I overheard that guy basically saying, like, yeah, I know who you are. I know I'm just gonna get fucking destroyed here. Like, it's gonna be fucking terrible. And like, but for someone who apparently like was already stoically accepting his defeat. Like he was like, I checked back in like an hour later and he was just like losing his fucking shit. Like I was like, yeah,
I'm sorry, that's really funny.
I said something like, yeah, Nords are a tough fight or something like that, and he was like, it's not even a tough fight. It's completely unbalanced. Like there's no way for me to fucking win. Like it's just not. There's absolutely no way. There's no counterplay. There's no interaction here. It's completely terrible. I was like, okay, dude. Whatever you say, bro. I'm not even gonna try to fucking pick this apart. My understanding is that he just marched his shit forward, and then fucking Nords did Nord things to it. So
maybe marching your shit directly forward is a bad play. Like, I love
Yeah,
it when people just
like-
run straight forward. I'm like, oh sweet, I just get to kill stuff without retaliation. Thank you.
I know the game's about fighting, but it's about like picking the better fights.
I think Carl would kill me.
Setting up the better fights.
I think Carl would kill me if I ever put him on the wall, because that's what the wall turns into, is literally just a grind in 2 spots, and it's like, that's not the game. That never was the game. Running forward is like Warhammer Fantasy, and that's not Conquest. And even then, Warhammer Fantasy was not just about running forward. Like, if you ever watch old Warhammer Fantasy battle reports of players who know what they're doing, they will spend 3 to 4 turns, sometimes even 5 turns, positioning their stuff and making slow adjustments and shooting at each other until the lines finally crash.
Yeah. That's the 6 days of jockeying.
Yeah.
That we were talking about at the start of this. That's how
and for some reason Conquest players think it's the same thing, and it's like, it's not. It's never been.
Unless you're playing into my old man who brings a fucking old gun line. And then you kind of just...
And you just got shot in the face and you accept death.
Yeah, you're in fucking Passchendaele. But in any case... So, yep.
In Passchendaele, they died to the mud. They died to mud.
I mean,
and a lot of artillery.
I was going to say, everyone really is actually dying to artillery in World War One is far and away the thing that killed most people. In any case, I played Carl. This was a matchup that we had tested before, twice. Technically 3 times, but the first time the list I was running was not in the iteration that it ended up being in. So the exact matchup was twice, and it was 1-1. So this was going to be a real good tit for tat. But that being said, Carl usually beats me, so I have my work cut out for me. But man, I really think I'm remembering what I wrote word for word right now. I feel like I say the exact words.
Pull it up and start reading. Read it verbatim. I
swear to God,
I will turn you into a robot. God damn it!
I fucking might. I'm just gonna start reading it in the text to speech.
Oh God.
Anyway, Carl's running what I call it before Raiders featuring a bunch of other chumps. So it's 4 fucking Raider MSUs. And then a block of Raiders with the Volva in it.
So much.
Yeah, it's just an absurd amount of Raiders. 19 stands of the fucking guys.
I've dubbed it Ape Raiders.
Ape Raiders.
Yeah.
Volva has
strung together.
Yeah, Ape strung together. Volva has Ty Yokel for Tenacious 2. So these are Tenacious 2 E2 Raiders, so they are surprisingly durable, not unkillably durable, which is a big thing, but they are more durable than they appear. And then he's got the Volva block the Valk block with another Volva in it, so double Volva, and then he's got the double Bearsark setup. But Carl, being Carl, put the Jarl in the Carl Jarl in the 4 block instead of the MSU. So break shatterproof, which I also think never mind break shatter, but that also just leaves that MSU to it just spreads the threat better in my opinion. The Jarl's more protected, gets to get a little more value out of the bigger unit, and then the MSU gets to just be a fucking nightmare somewhere else. So all that said, this one was on head to head. The terrain, thankfully, on this one was actually kind of well placed.
Okay, thank God.
Thank God, finally. For the final round.
This is also, if I recall, the finals table.
This was the finals table.
Yeah, it better be.
You had the giant 2 kind of 12 by 12 pieces, but they were in each corner, opposite corner. There were only 2 of them, and they were in opposite corners. So the flanks weren't completely shut off. There was play there. You know what I mean? Good. And then there were a couple of smaller, kind of 6-inch diameter, but probably smaller than that. Definitely smaller than that. Impassable pieces besides, kind of closer to the middle on either side. And then some hindering in various spots. Now, I haven't mentioned this before, but hindering has been all but irrelevant this entire game in tournament, which is part of why I think this list did as well as it did, because my Thunder Riders barely had to think about where they were going. The opponent didn't have many opportunities to abuse hindering to throw me through a loop. So
I really would have wished you played on Adepticon tables last year, because my God, there was so much of it.
Oh my God. That is something
Rolo
like
had to do it though, just because of it would have made like, oh, look how many fucking 100K players would have just been running rampant.
yeah, genuinely. So that is something I have to keep in mind going to ACON, and we'll see on the list actually before it's out that way. But yeah, in any case, yeah. So he drives the play that he really likes to do is to drive the Raider block, because head-to-head you have on the one side of the board the middle zone, and then on the other flank of the board you have the enemy and friendly zones deep in either side's territory, right?
Yeah.
So what he likes to do with that list is drive the Raider block right at the enemy zone, because it's a huge amount of force showing up very early on. He could just chuck an MSU or two to immediately score the medium zone, like the middle zone, and then follow that up with the Valks eventually anyway. And then there's this huge amount of pressure that the opponent has to answer or just get scored out of the game very easily. However, he has played my list before, and he knows that that is death for that Raider block if it tries to do that.
Fucking hope so.
Yeah, so he instead plays it more conservatively, and he goes for the middle zone. Now, we're actually, he's been talking to Ewan about it, Ewan of CanCon, recent CanCon fame.
You mean the Australian gentleman who's like, went to Worlds and is like a really good player? Did he go to? No, Reese went to Worlds. Did Ewan go to Worlds?
I think he did. I'm pretty sure.
I know he's a very strong player and does very well in Australia. And I'm pretty sure he went to Worlds. I know Reese did, but I'm pretty sure there was two Australians.
I'm pretty sure he went to Worlds because I think that's where Carl met him.
Yeah,
because they've like talked and played games since then.
Yeah,
so yeah,
and he's like he's always been a strong player.
Yeah, and they were talking about how with because the main weakness of Carl's Raiders Volva here is that it's 11 cards.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets outcarded eventually, which is part of what costs him, as we will soon see. And in those cases, especially because the list is so, like I said, like at the very start of this fucking monstrosity, it's like over half of it is on the field, at the end of 2. So it can actually afford to get really far down the opponent's throat, and like starting to take fights and taking those early cards off the opponent is going to be very important for it to kind of help offset that low card advantage. I don't know that strategy would have served him here because, again, like Raptors just like reach out and fucking smash something into the dirt just as easily. So I don't know, but in any case, that's neither here nor there. He ended up playing a little bit more conservatively. So he throws the Raider block towards the middle, and then he spreads the rest of his Raiders across the field. One of them is accompanying right beside the Raider block. The another 2 are going towards my enemy or towards my friendly zone on the other side. The 4th one ends up reinforcing towards the middle on turn 2 because it did not come in turn 1.
Mm-hmm.
This time around, and I actually think, if I remember right, this might have been a minor mistake of his. I can't actually remember, but he might have like deployed the block first. And I think that might have been something of a mistake. Like if the depending on where the MSUs go, it might telegraph where the block goes anyway. Because like if he puts the MSUs towards the enemy block, like in the way of where the big block, or excuse me, if he puts the MSUs towards my friendly zone, in the way of where the big block could have possibly have reinforced, that kind of telegraphs it, right? Like the big block can't go there.
Yeah.
But my game plan going into that was like entirely based on where he puts that Raider block. Because normally I put the hunting packs on the wings, like 1 on each wing. But the hunting packs and the Raptor Riders are my most efficient answers to dealing with the giant Raider brick. Because they just pile a fuck ton of hits, which is how you destroy that Raider brick. So, he puts the Raider brick towards that middle zone. So both my hunting pack and both my Raptor Riders, because again, everything actually showed up on turn 1 for once. The only time this happened on this tournament.
Hey, this is the game you needed. You need every advantage into Carl the Dread.
Yeah, genuinely. They all went, like the 2 Raptors went to the middle as usual, but then both hunting packs went where to the right side. where the Raider Brick is going to go. And this is also somewhat informed by the fact that on the other flank of the field was that giant piece, that giant terrain piece. So like the honey pack were going to swing around that anyway. So it kind of worked out. So they both went towards that Raider Brick. Turn 2, Valkyries reinforced on the other wing. They're going to make for my friendly zone. And again, the remaining Raider unit kind of pushes up towards the center. I think my fucking reinforcement rolls were crazy because I'm pretty sure it was turn 2 that the Quaddle showed up. I could be wrong. It actually might have been turn 3 now I think about it. Yeah, I think it was.
You only have 2 meetings with Cock and Quaddle, like.
Yeah, well, I guarantee the Cock on every single time. The
Quaddle,
you
gotta get your Cock on the table.
I gotta slap that thing on the table. The Quaddle might not have shown up until 3 now I think about it. But in any case, the Cock go towards my friendly zone, so they go on the opposite side of the middle mark or the middle zone.
Yeah,
and we start jockeying for position in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And on the middle thing, he marches the block right onto that zone. The honey packs start kind of like maneuvering, kind of like, one of them is going like right along the board edge. And what I find is that the impassable terrain piece on his side in that corner, they can kind of sit right in front of that and threaten the flank of those raiders. So if the raiders move up to anything in front of them, the honey pack are sitting right there to flank them. If the raiders move to destroy the honey pack on that flank, then the block gets flanked and turned by the stuff right in front of it. So he's kind of like already looking at a little bit of a cordion, a little bit of a trap there.
Wow. We call that in my country a dick move.
Yeah, man. Nothing but in Conquest. He just said I'm playing the Cock, so I'm nothing but dick moves here. Turn 3 comes around. I put my Thunder Chieftain Thunder Riders right where my friendly zone is, so their intention is to smash the shit out of the Valk block when it eventually moves up far enough. The Quaddle ends up going in the middle, kind of like right next to them. The intent with that is to kind of like play with the impassable terrain that's kind of on his piece, to kind of like fly around it, get into people's flanks, and so on. The main thing I want that Quaddle to do in this matchup is to go tie up a Berserk. It has Evade 2, so it should last through a single clash from the Berserk MSU. And it ties that thing up from being able to like just reach out somewhere and just smash the shit out of something I don't want it to smash. So I'd rather tie it up in its backfield. And yeah. So that's the plan with the Quaddle. He sends one Berserk down the flank to support the Valks, and the Jarl Berserk goes storming right up the middle with 2 of the Raider MSUs there. I try to open up the fight on the flank by maneuvering the Quaddle to kind of like right in front of the impassable on his side, so that the Raiders that he has in the middle of the field can't see it. The Raiders that he has on that on the flank of the field where the smaller zones are, the friendly and the enemy zone, they can see it, but like if one of them engages with it, then that opens their flank up to the Chosen. But because Carl is a good player, he just reforms charges the Quaddle, such that the Chosen can't actually flank it on their wide frontage. So I'm sitting there for a long time, I'm fucking maneuvering around, I'm seeing if I could possibly make that move. But honestly, no matter how I make that move, if I could have Charge Clash reformed, I might have taken it.
Mm-hmm.
But because I had to burn the first action to get the Charge Clash in there, that would have left their flank exposed to the other Raiders, the Berserks, and the Valks eventually crashing into the front. So like that, I would have just given up the Chosen for a fucking Raider unit, which would not have been good.
No.
So they just end up kind of like shuffling forward a little bit and chucking the damage spell at that Raider unit. That was the one mistake I made up to that point, because I didn't measure it out. That actually put them in range of a March charge from the Valkyries. And I do think that would have screwed me up bad on that flank, because those Valkyries would have ground through those Chosen eventually, and then it would have made it very difficult for them to, for the Thunder Riders to get through. Because there's a good chance that they would have been able to just like blessed clash down the rest of the Chosen, and then charge into the Thunder Riders and start that grind. And then he would still have Raiders and Berserks behind that, ready to deal with that shit. So that could have been bad for me. He goes for it and fails that charge though. So 6-up reroll. It was low odds anyway, but it could have happened, right?
Yeah.
So I should have kept that inch. I should have measured that.
Like sometimes you just go for it because it's like, well, what's the other option? I just sit here. Like my plan was to sit here anyway. Might as well see if I can get something.
Yeah, like if you have the 6-up charge and there's no downside whatsoever to doing it, you might as well take it.
Yeah.
So Yeah, so that happens. Flank kind of stalls there. He's got the Raiders engaged with the Quaddle. The Chosen looking at some more Raiders. Bears Arcs behind those Raiders. Valkyrie block storming up as well. So that's what that flank looks like. And I've got my Thunder Chieftain unit behind the Chosen and the Quaddle engaged with that Raider. So that's what that flank looks like. Middle of the board, Bears Arcs, couple Raider units, both my Raptors, and then further over to the flank, the fucking Raider block, double hunting pack. The Apex Predator reinforces on that block to look at that Raider block, because the Apex Predator is also pretty good at that Raider brick. Not as many hits, but the Predator on top actually makes it so that's a fair, kind of just straight up output.
Mm-hmm.
Deadly Blades isn't that important because Tenacious 2 just fucking eats Deadly Blades, but Terrifying 2 does matter here. So, next best thing. And then the Thunder Rider MSU is kind of in the middle, ready to flex to one side of the board or the other, depending on how things go. So they're ready to support the other Thunder Riders, or they're ready to move into other things. He moves too far forward with his Raider MSUs.
No!
He kind of just gets a little bit like, we're going to start moving in as one big wall of shit, and we're going to start moving up the board in the middle. I outcard him by 1 on this turn. I think that's the Quaddle showing up this turn is huge, because it enables that to happen. So, very last play, Raptors Fluid reach out with a Famine Chant and smash one of those Raider units in the middle to the ground. So now Carl's in a tough spot because there's Raiders in his mist. There's a whole bunch of fights already opening up, ready to happen, and I've just taken first blood, and I have on a Supremacy a chance to take a second one for basically no return. And that's exactly what happens. The next turn I win Supremacy, and the Raiders eat the Raptor Riders eat the other Raider unit that was in the middle. So that Raptor Rider unit eats 2 Raiders for basically nothing.
Yeah, now you're up. That's 240 right there at least. You are at 180, so you're up 60 points. And you've also taken 2 cards off his deck before he's been able to do anything to retaliate. So you're up on the peace trade as well. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel
at that point he's on the back foot.
Not even the points. I think it's just the loss of activations and cards in the deck what hurts him way more than the points.
I mean, points value is just overall army strength, right? That's one way of looking at it. But like you say, the card advantage is what matters here, and he's gonna be on the back foot for the rest of the game on that frontage.
I played an old Dominion game a couple weeks ago, and I was literally just looking at taking cards away from my opponent, so he just had less and less options each turn as I had more, and then just kind of whittle away at him.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, when that Supremacy that happens, and then the Raptor Riders Fluid around for the Bears Arcs to take a look at if they want to do it. Carl being Carl, he still finds a pretty brutal line of play. The Bears Arcs ignore the Raptors that just ate all of that, launch forward, smash the shit out of the other Raptor unit, and then they charge into the Hunting Pack to deny them a shock engagement, and then the Raider Brick swings around to the other Hunting Pack I'd put kind of to their flank in front of the impassable piece. And they just barely kill it on the impacts alone, which really, really sucked, because then they got the reform afterwards. So I think the math on that is on the knife's edge, if I remember right. So that worked out in his favor that they just blew up the hunting pack like that. So the Apex wasn't able to get into their flank. That being said, the Cascade was still kind of, he got that in return, but it was still looking a little bit grim for him. I forget the exact order in which I did it, but the Quaddle ground down the Raiders enough for the Scion to finish them off with a spell. I'm pretty sure that's how that happened. And then the Chosen, being chosen, launched forward, picked up the final Raider MSU, and then backed up a bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to draw his stuff further in for the Thunder Riders, right? So he usually in these fights, if he starts getting really good value out of those Raider MSUs, it starts looking pretty bad for me. But all of his Raider MSUs died for almost nothing this game. So that's more or less why that shit started looking so bad for him, because now all the fight was on his 2 bricks and his Bears Arcs. But they can't do it all by themselves. They needed some value out of all of those Raider MSUs, and they just didn't get anything there. So again, we're talking about mistakes. The mistake I made with the Chosen it was on a 6-up that I get punished for that. The mistake he made with the Raiders, that was guaranteed. And, like it got compounded by a supremacy roll.
Yeah, there have been times where the supremacy roll has just not gone in your into your favor as a player, and it's just like starts cascading very badly, and it's just like, God damn it, like please stop.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, please, come on, I don't need this right now.
Exactly. The Valkyries end up crashing into the Chosen, and they grind them down pretty quickly. And after they grind them down, they go right into the Thunder Riders to deny the Thunder Riders their charge clash. Mm-hmm. The Apex smashes into the Raiders and starts that fight. Actually does pretty good damage to them, if I remember right. I think actually picks up a couple of stands of them, which was pretty good. The Thunder Riders I had to the middle. Once again, Juggernaut being a fucking incredible rule. Yeah, they reform,
so good,
and they are in range of the Berserks that are tied up with the Hunting Pack. So they reform and charge the Berserks with the Jarl, and they do a fuck ton of damage there. The next turn, the Berserks pick off the Hunting Pack, but the Thunder Riders clean them up and then charge right into the Raiders. So the Thunder Riders got the whole fucking just swing across the field with those charges. Do a bunch of impact damage. The Apex and the Thunder Riders then are able to clean up the Raider block on that flank. The Valkyries do a admirable job of trying to bring down the Thunder Riders, but they don't quite do it on their side of the field. And the only thing left for him on that side of the field after those Valkyries are the Berserks. The Berserks like kind of just do their thing and just leap across the field and fucking slap the Quaddle into the dirt. But the Raptor Riders, who have had a hell of a game eating all those Raider MSUs, just turn around and eat the Berserks. And then they smash it to the flank of the Valkyries. And that was that, basically. So, yeah, Carl just extended a little too far forward, got compounded by the supremacy roll, and his list kind of just melted faster than he could do anything with it. And all the peace trading happened, and I just had too much stuff, essentially, for him to chew through at that point.
Yeah, and...
So
good job. Congratulations. You filled him full of harpoons.
We did the speaker thing.
Yeah.
We so
and you successfully defended your belt and title as LVO winner.
I did somehow into first to Ben miraculously, and then once again somehow into Carl miraculously. So yeah, we
and you had to fight Chuck to get through there. Like you had to, you had to go against the trickster god.
Yeah, that was a pretty good tournament. I felt pretty. I was pretty chuffed with myself on that one. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, good job, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You've always been a strong player, and it just shows.
Yeah.
You keep coming back and doing well in other tournaments, and you got the one that you're good at.
You know, I've as you might expect, I've been watching myself play various games over the years, and I'm never like a bad player, but like I drop games into worse players because I'm like just very inconsistent. Like I just get like railroaded into one thought or another. And I sometimes just don't see the wider picture. Like, you literally just saw this with our last game.
Oh, we talked.
Like, when I kind of... Yeah, where I kind of just, like... Where the win is, like, there's an obvious route there. Or, like, you know, I just get, like, flippant or just make, like... what's the word I'm looking for? Impulsive moves. Instead of, like, slowing down and thinking for a second.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely felt it throughout that entire tournament. I was mostly in the zone. I was paying attention to my moves. I was taking my time and thinking about where, how those things would kind of cascade from what, a few steps down. And, it paid off. And, honestly, like, Speakers is just such a fucking powerful list. Like, I was saying at the start of this, like, you can win with a shitty list and all that sort of thing, but, like, I don't think it, like, I pointed out the mistakes I did make. Like, again, impulsive, like, talking about with, like, Peter. The Raptor Rider move over that exposed him to the Raiders, that was impulsive. The Thunder Riders moving up to take out the marker only to get flanked, that was impulsive. But, like, he had lost the game before the Thunder Riders move, but, like, Speakers is just such a fucking strong list that the things that I was able... The the options that it opens up is so fucking good. That yeah, I felt like it didn't necessarily like what's I'm looking for, mitigate my weaknesses as a player, but I felt so confident with its strengths that that alone mitigated the weaknesses. Does that make sense? Like, I was just like, there were so many things that I was able to do with its strengths that some of my fucking faux pas as a player, it alone was able to mitigate. If that made any amount of sense.
Oh, just like you're okay. You did make mistakes, but the mistakes your opponents made and you took advantage of them didn't allow it to cascade against you because you had those strengths and knowledge to go find those mistakes they made and crack it open. Like that's a good thing. But also you're recognizing your mistakes and then you're going to process them. Hopefully you're gonna think about them and then process them and then, you know, do things to correct them so you don't make them. So now it's even harder for your opponents to find weaknesses in your play to take advantage of and beat you. It's just getting good at the game.
Yeah,
like you can't grow. You can't grow unless your mistakes are being showcased to you and you're losing. That's like it's why losing games are better for you to grow with than winning games, because you're gonna learn less if you win. Because you did more good than your opponents, there's less things for you to focus on and work on than if you just lost. Because years ago I saw a guy make a post who was a local, and it was like, I did everything right, I played the list properly, I had the matchup, and I didn't win. And I'm like, yeah, because you fucking played bad, and I was standing there watching you play, and it was bad, and you're just kind of like whining right now online. Your opponent was better than you, and he knows how to play the matchup and took advantage of every single one of your mistakes, and you just made a bunch of bad plays in positioning, and he just took advantage of it. Like, what? You can't just say I did everything right. If you lost, you obviously did something wrong.
These games they can be very tough to figure out where you went wrong. Like, genuinely. Especially when you run into a player that's just so much better than you.
Yeah, like Carl with his hockey.
Yeah, like, it's tough to see exactly what fucking threw you under, especially because this game can often turn on one decision or another.
Dude, there's been games that have been lost in the deployment. Like,
yeah,
those games suck, but it's also like reinforces how much the initial deployment of 1 through 3 matter, 1 through 4 matter, and your setup. Like,
I would go so far as to say that most games are lost in deployment. Like, genuinely, like, I don't even mean
especially this game. Like,
yeah.
Battle of Antiquity. We're not moving a guy across to the other side of the table. Like,
yeah, like
put him over there.
Talking about Antiquity, like fucking Battle of Pharsalis. Poppy tries to get around Caesar's flank with his cavalry. Now that I've embarrassed myself with remembering what battle you're talking about, I'm going to try to redeem myself with Pharsalis here. Okay. Poppy tries to swing around his cavalry on Caesar's flank. Caesar coming a mile away, fucking throws his veterans of like all of his fucking Spanish campaigns and the Gallic Wars right there on that flank, and they fucking smash the shit out of the cavalry, and then they sweep the flank around, and that's that. That game was lost in deployment, so to speak, right? Like, that's the same shit here. Especially with, because one of the speaker's main advantages is that it is very fast, and it can move across the table very quickly, which mitigates some of any initial deployment errors you might make. But I would say it doesn't really get rid of them in any real way, because ultimately the game is still about having your stuff in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And those initial, if your opponent has set up his stuff properly, then you can very easily still misdeploy speakers.
Well, the other thing it allows you to do is be a little bit more flexible because of the speed and the fluid. Like, you can get like, oh no, I'm slightly out, get into the right spot. Oh no, I'm super far out. Oh, I'm fucked. Like, it doesn't. You still fail if you are deployed on the other side of the table and not in the right 100%. Spot.
Like,
yeah, like.
Don't get me wrong, the mobility like mitigates that a little bit. Like, I mentioned it during the Ghost game, right? Like, the Raptors were in front of the Heries. They dodged past the terrain piece to get away from the Kyries and deny the Kyries a turn of blowing shit up, and then they turned right back around and smashed the shit out of the Kyries. Like that stuff absolutely, that absolutely mattered in terms of like the deployment. But like if I'm playing into Chuck and I decide to just cede the hotgates to him, I probably lose that game. Yeah. Right? Like it doesn't matter what the Thunder Riders are smashing the shit out of the middle of the field. He gets to score that all day long and includes a double cap, and I would have been jumped up on myself too much in the middle because there's only so much room for all those units to maneuver around each other, and the clock lights shine more in that matchup. So yeah, you can all that movement doesn't matter once if your opponent, it's up to your opponent to like set it up such that there's only so much to move without being countered, right? So those initial engagements still matter. What I was going to say about your earlier point is, for me personally, Speakers has been a very good learning list. Like, it's one of the reasons why I'm kind of hot to go back on to Raygoons. Because I think I've been playing Raygoons wrong. I think Raygoons actually does play a lot like Speakers. Because, again, a lot of Raygoons doesn't show up until turn 3 or 4. So you can't really be down. Now, Twig does mitigate that with Firstborn Children of War, where you always have like the side deployment, but like, what are you trying to side deploy?
Well, sometimes on tier 3, you're side deploying the Flame Berserker who didn't show up.
Well, you're not side deploying the Flame Berserker doesn't show up. That's fine. You've got other problems then, because you're probably still not wanting to get aggressive if you're missing a Flame Berserker. Your Magma 4s on a 4 wide, like that's not the easiest side deploy. You don't really want to put them 3 wide.
No.
So that's not happening. Your best side deploys are the turn 4 Ironclad. And turn 4 Ironclad is already a problem of its own, or like Vanguarding Warriors.
Vanguard Warriors is pretty good because it just like
Vanguard Warriors is great.
Zone stealers, they're great for stone stealing. Like people hate
zone
it, but
stealing,
they just steal zones.
That little bit of extra pressure and or presence that could tilt a flank, like that. Don't get me wrong, that's like really strong, but like it's not necessarily like game deciding. It's a good tool in the kit, but it's not game deciding. So your Raygoons should really not be. They don't have the same turn 2 I'm in your face presence that Nord's list does, right? So they should be playing. And again, in Raygoons on top of that, we were just talking about all the mobility of Speakers. Raygoons doesn't have that. They're fucking dwarves. So they show up early, but like they're not moving quick once they're on the field. Like move 6 is great, but it's not fucking move 8 fluid like a bunch of fucking units have, or move 9 fluid like the fucking Quaddle flying. You know what I mean? So that kind of like tough, grindy element makes more sense if they're playing it in a much more like, all right, I'm going to show up, I'm going to take a little bit of position, and then I'm going to like invite you to have to make the first moves until I have the card advantage, because Raygoons is 13 cards to set up that like turn 3, turn 4 after all your stuff, move in and set up a good punch and set up some.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought I was in a really good spot after I took your Raider, Shaman, and your Stalkers that one turn. I was like, wow, I'm like 3 cards up. This is gonna be sweet. But then you got me because you didn't want to fucking commit to the peace trade, and I wasted cards on turns where I could have held stuff back.
Yeah,
and that was. But like no one. I thought about that after we played that game, and after we talked, like the next day, and I was like, every time I've played Raygoons, people will peace trade with me. No one's ever decided to hold back. And not knowing what to do when someone decided to hold back was something I had never learned. So I kept doing what I knew. And now that I know what to do when someone decides to hold back, it's like, just put 2 Flame Berserkers at the bottom of the deck. Unless all 4 Flame Berserkers have a different target, or like, something they can get into, that's when they should be all played at the front of the deck. While it's like, if only 2 of them do and you're looking to peace trade, put the other 2 at the bottom. They can fucking sit there.
Yeah, like if you looked at that board, like a bunch of your Zerkers, there were only 2 Zerkers that were doing anything that turn.
Yeah, and the other 2 should just wait until the very end of the turn to see if you had done anything to maybe get more advantage out.
Exactly.
And like that's something I gotta recognize. It's something like I had not encountered while playing that list, and something I gotta like recognize, I guess, going forward. If my opponent, it's like, okay, if each Berserker does not have a target, put that card at the bottom because they might get a target later, or they might just threaten my opponent where they don't get, like, they might counterattack the berserkers that have already killed stuff because they don't want to die. Because they don't think they can take a berserker, and they leave themselves exposed to more berserker.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
I think the idea of, because we scream about it all the time.
Yeah.
That you shouldn't be taking, like, you don't make any moves that you don't have a counter for, essentially. Like, you don't make a move that your opponent can move into that you then can't move back into, right? Like, your units should always be supporting each other. You should always have backups for any of the moves that you make. Like, that's part of the problem with those, that's exactly what sending those light units into those markers are, right? You don't have a backup for that. if you commit your unit like that, then there's no counterplay there. Like, especially if the only thing looking at them is, like, in Peter's case, there's, like, Valkyries that showed up way too late in the side where they can't really support from the other flank where they got hit. Or in the case of Levi's game 1, the only thing that can counter that first move is some archers, and, like, that's fine, but, like, the stuff behind it, like, archers don't take and hold space. They help suppress space, but they don't take and hold space, and that's exactly what was at stake there. So, like, yeah, you should always have your counters ready, and having your counters ready means having your army available. And so that's why I think I've been playing Raygoons wrong, and that's why this list has been such a good, like, I think if the reason why I played more consistently throughout this tournament than I probably have at any tournament up to this point is because this list, for me, we were talking about how playing into it doesn't make sense. But playing as this list, just the logical setup of how it rolls along has been so instructive as how to look at the rest of the game. Like, because it's the purest example of all these lessons that we've been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Turn 3, you don't want to engage until turn 3, literally because of the shock rule. Like, you need the Thunder Chieftain on the board. Okay.
That's really shocking, to be honest.
And honestly, like, I don't think well played, but it doesn't, like, it's perfectly balanced to me. Like, it makes sense, and he has an option to show up with the Raptors if you really want it. But, like, you don't have the shock supremacy, but then you don't have enough cards to get that extra move in after all of your opponent's moves, which means that into stuff like Ghosts, into stuff like Nords, even 100k, who have 8, 9, 10 cards on turn 2, and can counter any single fucking move you make, you're not going to get aggressive with it. But that means you also have to think about, like, how you're jockeying for position, how you're setting up the stuff that's coming later if you want to draw out your opponent in any real way. Like, the way you have to approach with that list, and the way you have to think about how it progresses onto the board, I think it makes it actually, in its way, especially because of how fluid shenanigans can, like, not even necessarily, like, fix mistakes in your deployment, but just open up moves and open up ways to pick apart your opponent more than anything else. I think it is for that reason, actually, like, a really good learning list for someone who's really looking to, like, okay, how do I start thinking about the mid to late game? Like, I think I called this list mid-range at one point, and that's kind of the logic that brought me to that. Like, more than counter aggro, more not a pressure, none of that stuff, like mid-range. Like, mid-range says, any of your aggro stuff has to slow down because of what I'm following it up with. And then it's just a bunch of power plays that really start swinging things in the mid to late game. That's what this list is. And it's just such a good, like, I mean, Conquest is a game obviously about strategy and thinking and everything, but this list, I've thought more about how to approach things with this list than most other lists I've played recently. And like I said with Raygoons, like, it's making me want to take these lessons to other things. And that more than anything else, more than the victory, more than the second belt or whatever else, or what it says about me as a player, that is what makes this list exciting to me, and that's why I'm kind of excited. Like, I might bring Raygoons to A-Con if Raygoons ends up being really, really good with these lessons I've taken from it, but more than likely it'll be Speakers again, because it's just been that much fun to play and that much fun to think about.
It's also like it is a really good list. I mean, it has a lot of tech tools. Like, the Predator being able to shoot and just have the Apex hang back, but still being able to get work out of the Apex with the Predator's gun is just extra tech. The Quaddle being a tech piece. You already have your front line, you have your closers with the Thunder Riders, like, and as you said, you're waiting for turn 3 before you're actually going to commit, but if anyone starts coming real close, you can start doing a little bit of punishment until you get to that turn 3 to start really hitting them.
Yeah, exactly. And like
you can give space and deny space effectively without too much retaliation. Your list is very flexible. It punishes aggro, what's a huge thing right now of just being really aggressive or building lists that are really aggressive and looking to score early and have a lot of things on. But it also can play into other weirder things because you, like, if you are fighting something that has high, like, I don't know, let's say like a monster with a bunch of wounds and high defense, you have the Apex to really put that damage in because that's what it's looking for to do. And you also have other pieces, like I'm pretty sure, and like the Thunder Riders will do work into it as well. Like, you have a bunch of tools in there that are really fluid and work together very well.
Yep.
Like,
yeah, absolutely. Like,
it's a great toolbox look. Yeah, and like it is a very solid toolbox, and that's like I keep coming back to a one list format just because I played War Machine, and like your list development completely changes when you're allowed to bring 2 lists to an event. By the way, a lot of players, unless they've played War Machine, will not. I don't think they'll understand what that actually means until they start doing it. But if you're only allowed to bring 1 list, you got to make sure that list can cover as much bases as you possibly can. And initially, a lot of players are going to make sweeper style lists that are just like really good in one aspect, and they're just trying not to hit their counter or like something that deals with them or a player who knows how to deal with that. And they're going to do phenomenally well, like an 80% win rate minimum. And that's going to be really good for them.
I would probably say so.
Yeah, but like other players who are looking to win the tournament, especially with a lot of players and especially a lot of high skilled players, are going to build more toolboxes because they have to deal with a lot more stuff. You played Ape Raiders twice. You played whatever the fuck Chuck was doing, what's just madness, to be honest. Ghost Jail and Sorcerer Kings. Like you had a wide variety of lists and players you had to beat to get to where you were for LVO. You did a phenomenal job winning LVO for the second time.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. I do love speakers. That's a very fun list to play. I recommend it to anyone who's got what you're in.
Go play speakers. Buy 30 Quaddles and also chop their heads off because they don't fit in your case.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my god, the way I had to fucking transport that shit on the plane was maybe so.
Oh man, I would have like snapped their arms off and then just glued them in Vegas and then snapped them off again to then re-glue them back at home. I would have given a fuck.
Miraculously, the only thing that broke on the way was one of the Thunder Riders came off his mount.
Oh, that's fucking easy.
And that was it. Yeah, that was.
Get some sticky tack for that guy.
Yeah, exactly. So that was agreeable.
I'm not gonna lie, I was actually thinking of sticky tacking all my minis and not giving a fuck the other day.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, you've seen the YouTube shorts I've been putting out lately.
That's true. They have been hilarious, and they do give me kidney stones. So, it's pretty good.
Okay, so as LVO winner, what swag did you get to bring home for winning LVO?
I've got my second golden fish gnome now.
Nice.
Goes right with the first one and the bronze fish gnome. What else did I get? I got a fancy alternate art Flame Berserker card.
Oh wow!
Like tournament pack ones. It was pretty fucking sick. And then because they did like the bottom, the bottom 3 players got to pick from the prize pool first, and then third, second, and first. So I think by the end of that, what did I get? Oh yeah, it was there was a cedar there, so I picked up the cedar, not because I wanted the cedar, but because Melinda plays Nords, so I got that for her.
Your Dweg wife?
And then my Dweg wife, and
I don't know her actual name, to be honest.
Melinda.
Oh,
it's Melinda.
I've literally just been like, oh yeah, that's Mrs. Bryan, or now as you've been known as the Dweg father, Dweg wife.
Dweg wife.
Dweg wife.
Dweg wife. She is not bearded. And
don't worry, she'll just take yours and you can regrow it.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that's what I had. It was the one. Oh yeah, then I played Yanni for the pro-am game, and that one we don't need to describe very much. He kind of like I don't think he cared about it nearly as much as he didn't care about it at all. Like neither of us did, and he kind of just like threw stuff at my stuff, and he was like, "Let's get this over with." I was like, "Okay."
You guys want to go to Primal?
Yeah, the Primal is so good. I said this at the start. I'll say it again. If you're in Vegas, go to Primal.
Okay.
Go to Primal.
You hear that, everybody? You're going to Primal.
Go to Primal. Go to Primal, or I will find you and slap you. Go to Primal.
Oh, damn!
I've got a pretty mean right hook, if I do say so myself. So don't risk that.
It's from all the Hellbringer drakes you've had to lift over the years.
All those Hellbringer drakes. It's from me carrying Dwight home as a faction over the years in top tournaments. Even though I've only did it like once.
Well, that's really good.
I guess twice, kind of technically.
Is there any PSA you want to give out?
Wadroon their internal balance is bad.
Oh, okay.
Chance could use a lot more love because the Chance do feel kind of bad. But they are still very fun to play. They are. I still recommend them to anyone who likes the idea of dinos and orcs. I think that there are some grognards who.
I'm sorry. Grognard? What the fuck is a grognard? Is that like a troglodyte but worse?
It's a graybeards, older people. The veterans, the people who've been playing for a while. They have their idea of what Wadroon are and should be, and that's entirely fine. But like, I don't know. They're still fun orcs yelling and fucking riding dinosaurs. So. I have no problem with that. What else is there? There's don't fucking cheat. We had some cheating problems at the tournament. Fucking, I really wish, because it was a Dweg player, I really wish that I had played this Dweg player and he tried that shit on me. Would have been really funny to see. Ironclads are not defense 4. Just so everyone knows.
Nope.
And Defense Invasion 2. Look out for the Dweg rework. Dweg is kind of in the same spot where their internal balance is bad. But they do still have power lists. I will scream till the day I die that Raygoons is still a good list. And
people not believe it's good?
Take names. I have various people I've discussed with. They don't seem to quite understand its power. I think it ultimately comes down to the fact, like I said, I think I've been playing it wrong. I think it plays like Speakers, where you are kind of just like setting up and counterpunching eventually with the double ironclad drive. So
that's fair.
Think about the lessons that we've talked about here today when you play your Raygoons. But otherwise, keep an eye out for the rework. I haven't seen a document yet, but from what little whispers and rumors. Almighty Reese has granted to us. There's some interesting things going about, so it should be pretty cool.
Are you a playtester?
I am a playtester.
Oh my god, how many fucking playtesters are there? Like every time I have one of you guys on, it's always you're a playtester.
Carl and I are playtesters. Steve is also a playtester.
Jesus Christ.
Although Steve isn't in the main chat. He's kind of like he's signed on, but he's kind of like we pass stuff to him to play with and help figure it out. So, and then Jeff is obviously a playtester as well, and Ben. So, yeah, we're in on it. We're offering opinions as much as we may. A bunch of my suggestions went through on the 100K doc. I don't know if other people shared the suggestions, but I will take credit for one here. If you guys like flawless strikes on the Crusaders, you're fucking welcome.
No, it was good. Like. So were they initially not going to have flawless strikes on the Crusaders?
And initially, Crusaders were basically like MMA or Men-at-Arms with Hardened 1.
Oh, so they're just Rajacore. Like, who the fuck cares? I already have Men-at-Arms.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like I said, like
you have to make them different.
Yeah, for the price tag they were coming out with too, because I think they had Devout as well. I forget if they still have Devout, but
I have no idea.
For the price tag they were coming out with, I was like, they got these fucking hammers. They're Crusaders. Like, why not give them flawless strikes? Like, it's not breaking anything. They're only fucking 4 attacks. And they apparently agreed. Although they put the veteran rider on it. Oh, I also think I don't know if maybe other people suggested this or not, but I think one of the kind of because you get to choose one of the abilities for the Crusading Noble Lord.
Oh yeah, basically oblivious.
One of the, yeah, or like one of them is like the aura of like resolve. I'm pretty sure he still has. You're welcome for that as well. I've always felt that like I'm pretty sure he still has that. Doesn't he still have that? I'm not the one.
So he has oblivious. He has give out divine purpose to things within 8 inches of him. Or they don't trigger the divine purpose; they just get divine purpose. And then he has terrifying 1.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Those are his 3. So you basically just take oblivion or oblivious every single time because it's kind of the best one.
In that case, sorry, but that's not.
You're a liar.
My original suggestion was like it would make sense for him to like give an aura bonus like in an aura, or a resolve bonus in an aura.
He could just be like a Diablo 2 paladin where he's just it's all auras and stuff. Like they kind of do have auras with the indomitable bubbles around each of the characters. What's fun, like that is fun, and I quite enjoy it, especially on like Household Knights, what are going to be like D4 rerolling 6s with indomitable, and it's like these things take fucking forever to kill.
Yeah.
It is quite fun.
I think we have seen some like overpowered auras in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that auras are kind of underutilized in this game, and I would like to see more of them.
Yeah, I feel as the game kind of goes on and develops, we're gonna see more things we've seen from other games, like 40K, like Infinity, like War Machine, like all the other, because there's a lot of like. If you want to be great at something, you got to go steal it from everyone else. Like, and there's tons of great ideas from other things that are just like, yeah, let's do auras. Let's like one of the things that I'm not surprised this game doesn't have, but something I'd be interested to see if there was like a push mechanic, like if there's a regiment that once it charges and make contact with enemy regiment, it gets pushed back D6. Like, that would open up a lot more board positioning, but also could cause you to lose positioning because now you're out of position because maybe you have a follow-up rule as well. So you just, like, slam in, push that regiment back D6, follow up, do your impact clash, all that stuff. Open up some board positioning so that, you're not just, like, bumping into each other and that's where the lines of engagement are. It makes sense for Battles of Antiquity, but, like, this is a fantasy game. Let's have some fun with it. It would open up more of a positional board state because you can now interact with your opponent's position. And you can also have a thing like if it makes contact with an obstruction or another regiment, it just stops and nothing, like that's where it ends, even if he goes further. And like that's it. So counterplay could be put your own regiment right behind the thing that you think is going to get pushed so it doesn't get fucking flung across the table. Like you can start doing some things.
My only problem with that is that Conquest is already, like, things explode when you touch them anyway.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not, like, opposed to it necessarily, but, like, I'm not sure that it necessarily just, like, matches the flow
of and that's
Conquest.
And that's the thing. Like, that idea is, like, this would be, like, Leandros would, write a rule for it and see if it actually is what, A, he wants from the game, and B, does it fit the game. Like, it's brainstorming. This is not like me going, the developer needs to do this right now because I said so. Like, it's like that. I've seen players do that and also like other content creators. It's like, are you fucking stupid? Like, shut the fuck up. Who gives a fuck? Like, talk about what's actually going on because that's the things that actually matter. That's the things that people are actually going to deal with. Not some random bullshit, not some whining and crying about other crap. Like,
nobody thinks their shit stinks. Everybody thinks they have great ideas. Like that's really all it comes.
Oh, I know. Like, I know it probably it's probably not all there. Would it be interesting? Yeah, sure. I'd play it if it was an actual rule because it's available. It was like the 100K monster thing. People are like, I hate monsters, and it's like if they make a monster available, I'm gonna play it or see how it is. Like, I don't give a fuck.
Don't get me wrong. Like, Conquest could use some more design space. And I have ideas where you can find it.
Like Auras is another good one.
Yeah, Auras is one. I think spells could be a lot more crazy. Genuinely, like I don't think they're like
You're gonna get Black Sun Zenith and summon a fucking vortex to eat a bunch of people?
I wouldn't say that, but like one of my favorite like pet ideas that I've had for years now for Dwag is like for one of their Earth spells to be being able to teleport a reinforcing unit onto the field. You know what I mean? Like shit, just fucking crazy shit like that. Like you can definitely get some stretch. I think there's part of the problem of like triple actions is that is the most obvious space for Conquest to expand into.
Yeah.
So, but it doesn't fit every army, and very quickly becomes like a question of like what's the tempo and the pacing we want for the game.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's still Conquest is young. It's still got plenty of fucking growing to do. So we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I'm not like opposed to pushing back or anything like that. I just
no. But it's more like this would be like a high concept that actual development and time would have to go into to make it so that it's actually an idea and not just like people, you know, being an armchair developer crap. Like,
yeah,
I always find it funny when people do that, where it's like, these are the changes I want, and blah, blah. It's like, okay, I don't, like, what do you want from me? Like, these aren't actual changes. They are, like, sure. Like, okay, you thought it out, but, like, I don't know how it's actually going to work with a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Is this legit?
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm optimistic.
Yeah, I am very interested in Dwag Home when that comes out. 100K did impress me. I think it's really good. I do like where 100K is currently. I fucking go to Beastpack, go fuck themselves. But anyway.
Yeah.
You know my issues on that.
They're a little overtuned.
They are.
They're a little bit.
I'm looking a little more out of Skatari than what they're actually point costed at. Where I'm like, maybe you need a little more Skatari.
Yeah, growing pains.
Yeah, it's like, okay, this is stuff that can be looked at within like 3 to 6 months from now and be adjusted. And it's like little things. And it's like, Parabellum overall did a really good job with 100K. I hope that Parabellum does a really good job with Dwag Home. I don't think they've had any like sinkers since, I don't even know if since anything. I think maybe Old Dominion for version 2. But even then, that was still playable.
Yeah. Genuinely. Like, most things are within, like, fucking 20 points of being playable.
Yeah.
So, the game's not that outbalanced.
No. Okay, well, thank you for sharing LVO with me.
Thank you for having me on. This was fun. A fun little recap.
I'm glad. Is there anything you want to plug?
You know, we mentioned it a few times that if somewhere in the fucking convention channel there in the main Discord, if you want to, for some reason, if you're still fucking listening to this, you want to see like the maps, the terrain, and you know, some more of like my written thoughts, it's somewhere in there under mechanic. Other than that, just like, you know, keep an eye out for me and the competent boys at Adepticon this year in a couple months, or in a month. Holy shit, it's coming right up.
I know. That's why I'm trying to get a bunch of painting done so I can actually play.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I got to decide on Goons sooner rather than later because I would still have to paint some stuff for it. But yeah.
I know. It's fucking. You've seen where the Archangel ended up. I have to fucking paint that, and it's already covered in snow.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, I know. Like, yeah. The Crusading Double Lord snapped on me because I threw him in my pocket while carrying him upstairs. I was like, God damn it, I gotta glue this back on.
Sadness.
It won't be the end of the world. Okay, well, Thank you for joining me today, Brian. I'm glad that you once again held your belt for LVO. You did a fantastic job. If you have made it this far and want to hear the outro plugs, it is join the BonkTable Discord. Also can talk to Brian there. Subscribe and like to the YouTube channel. And Cassandra has a Twitter. There we go. I think that's really it these days.
Hell yeah.
If I forgot anything, someone will let me know.
Hell yeah.
Okay, well, you have a great day.
You too, man. Take it easy.
Bye!